Welcome to a very special Sharp Way today. It is about noon on the East Coast, which is very rare for me, I know. But today I thought, you know what? It's the holiday season. Let me do a holiday special show and let me do it at a special time. Why not, right? Yes, Larry Sharp here on a Sharp Way holiday special. I'm very happy that you give me a small chunk of your afternoon. It won't be a small chunk, though. I'll be on for a long time today, punishing myself, perhaps, maybe punishing you, hopefully giving you some glory and something funny and something interesting to chat about. I hope at least. We'll see if that is actually true. So thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. If you know it's going to be a good show, and you do know, and you happen to be watching this on Twitter, then do me a favor. Do me a favor, retweet this on Twitter. Retweet it, let people know that I'm doing this. It will matter. People see it and go, oh, wait a minute, I know that Larry Sharp guy. He's talking holiday special. Yeah, I am. I'm totally talking about holiday special, important things during this season. So please retweet this on Twitter if you would. It is very helpful for me. I want to tell you a story if I could. It's a story about regret or lack of regret, either one of those things, right? Maybe some foreshadowing for something in your life, perhaps, or maybe looking back at something you did that you wish you hadn't done, either of those things. The two worst emotions that humans can feel is regret and betrayal. And regret yourself, betrayal others. The same idea. What was expected, what was supposed to happen, or what you thought you were going to do or could have done, and it didn't happen, or you didn't do it, or someone else didn't do it. It hurts more than almost anything we could imagine. Betrayal, particularly for those people that we love. And when I tell you about this story and things that I've done and that I haven't done, I want to make sure you understand that this is not from a preachy point of view. I can be preachy, guilty as charged. In this case, I am not being, because many of the things I'm going to talk to you about in this next little bit of time we're going to spend together, is not me saying I did everything right. See, do what I do. No. It's me saying sometimes I did things right. Please follow those. And sometimes I did things completely wrong and screwed up completely. Worse, even when I knew better. And please try to not do those things. So this is both lessons learned the hard way and lessons learned with positive outcomes. And I hope it will make some parts of this will connect with you in this special holiday season, and that you'll be able to take some of these and put it into your life in some way. Many of you, if you've watched me before, know that my father was ill when I was a kid. It took my father over 2 years to die. He had cancer. And by the time we found out, this was in the 70s, there was basically nothing he could do. I mean, if he had gotten the cancer and found out when we found out today, it's possible he could have been saved. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that wasn't going to happen, right? The technology wasn't there. So he basically spent 2 years dying. He went from weighing about 200 pounds to weighing about 90 pounds. And if you've watched someone pass away from cancer, you know what that means. They cut him open many times. They gave him chemo, and chemo in the 70s was far worse than it is now. I mean, chemo's never good, right? If you've ever either been on or know someone who's been on chemo, it's never a good thing. But whatever it is now, it was worse then. Cut him open several times, removed parts of his intestines. He had a colostomy bag. For those who know what that is, it's when your intestine literally is pulled out of your stomach and you can't go to the bathroom. Normally you go to the bathroom in a bag. It's that, and it was the 70s. Again, literally like tape. Just horrible, right? You can imagine. And I was a kid, 10, 11, 12 years old seeing this. So when I was there with him, there were many times that he wanted to go do things and people couldn't do it with him. They couldn't seem to find time for him when he was at his worst. And when your family is in trouble, what makes the family tight, what does, is not just celebrating times that are good, which is critically important. I don't want to take anything away from that, but also being there when times are bad. Boy, that's really what makes family strongest. When you're there when times are bad, right? What did they say when you get married? Was the old in sickness and in health, in good times and in bad? Yes. So when someone's dying, things are never good. They're always bad. My mother told me something. She said, when people are dying and they know they're dying, they can become very mean. My father could become very mean when he was dying. It was unfair. He was 41 years old when he died, diagnosed at 39. And if you're over 41, imagine how you would have felt at 39 being diagnosed and knowing that you were going to die at 40, 41. So he's very bitter, very angry, and he would lash out. And the problem is when everyone's abandoning you because you're no longer fun, you're no longer, you can't do things. In fact, sometimes you're a burden. And when people don't want to be around that, you get angrier. You get angrier. It's not my fault that I'm a burden. It's not my fault that I'm sick. I got cancer. What am I going to do about that? Or whatever your illness is. And he felt that and he was angry. He'd lash out. And I was a kid. But I took it. Why did I take it? I wanted to be with my father. And the pain that initially gave me, which of course it would. What kid likes to be scolded by their parent, right? No kid enjoys that. I didn't either. But I spent time with him anyway. And he wanted to do some boring things, as I thought. And the thing is, my father was very active when he was healthy. He liked to play, for those of you who remember in the 70s in the city, there was a game that was like baseball called Off the Wall. And you take basically like a handball or a tennis ball, and you would hit it off the wall, and then that's how you'd hit your base hit or something, right? Some of you city folk, you know what I'm talking about. He enjoyed playing that game. He liked playing handball, right? We were city people. That's the things that we enjoyed playing, right? That's what he was active. And all of a sudden, he couldn't be active anymore. He hated it. And I was accustomed to my dad being active, and I liked it. But all of a sudden, he had to become a photographer. Back in the day when we had cameras, some of you may remember those days. And we'd go to an arboretum. For those who don't know what an arboretum is, it's basically a place where there's trees and flowers and plants and bees and stuff. Seemed kind of boring to me. I was like an 11-year-old kid. What 11-year-old boy wants to go to an arboretum? Who wants to go there, right? Nobody wants to go there. And I went there because my father's new hobby was photography, still photography. It's almost all he could do. He could walk a bit, take some pictures, sit down, walk a bit, take some pictures, sit down. That's all I could do. And I spent my time with my father doing that. When he died, I had closure. I had closure. Why did I have closure? Of course, I was devastated when he died. Any child who loses their parent is devastated, right? Particularly when they're younger. I mean, people, it hurts. It hurts at any age. If you were 90 and you lost your parent who was 110, clearly you were lucky enough to have your parents till you were 90, but you would still hurt even if your parents passed at 110 and you were 90. It would still hurt. Imagine how much harder it is when you're 12 or 11 and your dad dies. Or worse. I mean, people lose their parents at 4, 5, 7, worse. So I had some closure though. The pain was lessened. Why? There was less regret. Will you always have some regret? Wish I had said this. Wish I had done that. Sure, there'll be some. But when someone in your family is down, for whatever reason, whether they're ill, they're an addict, they're down out financially, mentally, whatever, if you care about them, spend some time with them, whether virtually or in person, whatever makes sense. Spend the time. You might say, but Larry, what can I do, right? I can't do anything. I can't make it better. You're right. You can't cure their cancer or fix their addiction. True, you're probably not that person. But the fact that someone knows you care about them is going to matter. And that's when family comes through. And maybe you're more practical than most. And say, Larry, why am I going to spend time with my mom or my dad or my grandma or whoever is the person? They're just going to die anyway. And I've heard people say that to me. They're going to die anyway, Larry. Does it really matter? What I say is two things. One, yes, for you and for them. For you and for them. For that relationship, it does matter. You will make their life less bad by being there. But Larry, when I go there, they yell at me. Larry, when I go there, they're mean and they're nasty to me when I go there. Yes, but without you, they're worse. Someone has to absorb their pain. Someone has to absorb their anger and their bitterness. Someone has to. If their caregiver can, I guess that's okay. But what if their caregiver is another person who you value? Your mother, your sister, your brother, your father. They're the caregiver. So they have to absorb it, not you. Why don't you go absorb some of that too? And the more you're there, believe it or not, the less bitter they will be. They are bitter because they feel alone. They are bitter because they feel like they're a burden now, and they weren't a burden before. In fact, they're your parent or grandparent, they were running things, and now they're a burden. They feel even worse. You being there and expressing that and talking to them make it better for both of you. That's part one. It's part two, though. Other people in your family will see exactly who you are. Think about that. Other people, Mr. or Ms. Practical, whoever you might be, you're going to die anyway, Larry. You might think that, and people have told me that. And if you're one of those people who thinks that, how about the people in your family who now see how you are? That when your family member is in trouble, you went, what are you going to do? You did that? How are they going to act when you're in trouble? What do they think about you? How much are they going to trust you? And I would ask in response, how trustworthy are you if you're that person? I would hope you're not. I bring up this story because very often during the holiday season, we can become very selfish. And that may seem silly. Like, wait a minute, it's holiday season, Larry. How can we become selfish? Because we're angry. Holiday season is very often when families get together. It's a common thing. Not everybody, obviously, but many families get together during holiday season. And when you get together during the holiday season, when you do that, bad things can happen. People get angry, people get upset, people get mad, all those things, right? All of those things. People get angry, upset, and mad. And you remember that, and you're pissed off. How could he have said that? Who could have said that? All those things. But I would ask you, do you want that to be the last thing they remember? Do you want that to be the last thing you remember? But Larry, if I have to go back to that terrible person and say I'm sorry when that person's a jerk to me, I'm going to feel like garbage. Maybe. But doing the right thing, I'm using air quotes if you're listening to this, doing the right thing isn't easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Right? If it was easy, everybody would do it. But I would argue one step further. Maybe going to say, hey, can we talk? Showing some vulnerability, any of those things. I would argue that maybe, in a way, it could be selfish too. Meaning it's taking it off of you at least, and you're having a conversation. You can do the right thing and they can do what they want. This holiday season, if you have a family member who's in a very bad spot, whatever spot that is, I would ask you to reach out. Just reach out in whatever way makes sense to you, whether that's showing up at their door, calling them on the phone, DMing them through Twitter, liking a post on Facebook, whatever is the way you communicate with that family member. If you are a family member, reach out. Even if you've been a jerk, and maybe you have, reach out anyway. Even if they've been a jerk, reach out anyway. Even if you've both been jerks, reach out anyway. It does matter. It will matter. Start it. And here's the best part. What if you reach out and they completely ignore you? What if you reach out and they attack you and say, how dare you reach out to me? You're a jerk because of the thing you did back when we were kids, or whatever grudge they're holding for whatever reason, or whatever grudge you're holding for whatever reason. So what? So what? You'll be agitated for a little bit and you move on. You did the right thing. But you've opened it up for that person to come back to you. You've now opened it up for them to go, well, he should be the better person. She should be the better person. Somebody's got to be the better person. They're not doing it. Why not you? Look, at least you get to have the moral high ground. Win-win. At least that. I brought that story up because I know many of us can understand how that works. Understand that feeling. But I will go one step further. Let me grab a couple comments and I will go one step further. There's an opposite side to this too. It isn't only this. Pete Clark says, it's a very Larry Christmas. Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas to all of you who celebrate. I do celebrate Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. Of course, he has to go back on with the national debt, which is, as I will always read, even during the holiday special, Pete. See how much I love you? I will even do it during the holiday special. 31 trillion, 319 billion. $627,308,434.12. Even during all this, we still do it. Yes, absolutely. Dave goes on to say, chemo is poison. It's necessary poison. It's what is needed to kill the cancer. Yes, Dave, you're right. And most people don't know that, right? Chemotherapy is basically, it's basically poison. He's right. You hope to poison the cancer and kill it without killing the body first. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does so much damage to the body that it doesn't matter, right? Sometimes. Chemo is much better now than it was in the 70s. It was much more of a hit and miss. I mean, to a certain extent, it still is because every body is physically different, right? So there is some hit and miss no matter what. But it was far worse in the 70s, much more hit and miss than it was. But yes, that's the whole goal. For those who don't know, chemotherapy, that's the whole goal. The goal is to just poison the cancer more than you poison the body that it's in. Thank you, Dave. Yes, correct. John says, I've had an up and down year, losing both grandparents. Oh, wow, that sucks. Lost my boss, whom I was close to, going through divorce. You never stop trying to find happiness in a struggle. You know, John, I'm glad you said that. Because most people, when things get that bad, they want to give up. It's common, right? And for you to say, no, I'm going to still try to find some happiness. What winds up happening is when you try to find happiness, people get drawn to you. Because in reality, we all want to be happy, right? We may define happiness differently, right? We might define happiness differently, but we all want to be happy. And when we see somebody out there trying to find happiness, we're like, oh, I want to hang out with that guy. That guy's doing something. And they may not know, like they're not going, oh, I like John because he's trying to find happiness. Of course not. But they might say, I want to be around John. I don't know why. But unconsciously, they're like, because that guy's going for happiness and I'd like some happiness too. And that's a common human thing. We all want that no matter what. So, John, kudos to you for still trying to move forward because that's when individuals are tested, right? It's not hard. Sorry, it's not difficult to be happy when life's good. And life is good for all of us at certain parts of our life. And it's bad for all of us in certain parts of our life. That's just life. Life is a series of joy, pain, and in between is boredom. And we hope that we have a whole lot more joy than pain. And we hope that our joy is so much higher than the low pain points. We hope so, to the best of our ability. But we're all going to have pain. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen. How bad and how often, that we can mediate and deal with, right? That we can deal with. But we're going to have pain. And the fact you can take that pain, fall down as hard as clearly you have emotionally this year, and still try to get up, is a testament to you, John. Well done. It's important. Thank you for sharing that. So, Libertarian Lady says, do we get to hear you tomorrow also, Larry? Tomorrow, I will be on a Free Solution, my radio show at 1 p.m. Eastern. Yes, it's on Larry Sharpe, products. Larry Sharpe platforms, not Sharpewave platforms. And I will also be on Kennedy tomorrow night at 7. So, yes, you can see me twice tomorrow if you want to. Absolutely, but not on Sharpewave. You'll see it on Larry Sharpe and or Kennedy. Yes. Missy says, my fiance died the day after Thanksgiving from aggressive cancer. My dad was put in hospice today from cancer. Cancer is, yes, it is, Missy. The number one killer of humans is heart disease, and the second is cancer. So two things that are devastating us. So many of us will feel either directly, we'll get it ourselves, or someone we love will be affected by cancer. Almost all of us are going to have either us or someone we love affected by cancer. It is a scourge on the human race. You're absolutely correct. Yes. And it's painful. And when we lose family, there is a good and a bad thing, whether someone goes quickly or not. If a person has a heart attack and dies, if that's how they go, heart attack, dead. One of my friends happened to one of my friends. He passed, had a massive heart attack, died almost immediately. Just, that is horrible for the people who love him, but actually good for him. No suffering, no pain, shock and dead, gone. Better for the individual, worse for the family. The family's like, "What? I didn't. I could have. I wanted to. I didn't know." Terrible for the family. Better for the person who died. The reverse is true. My father died 2 years. Horrible for him. Terrible for him. Bad for us too. But at least I was able to get closure. So better for the family and loved ones if the person takes some time to pass. If we know he's going to die, take some time to do that. There's a very famous book from years ago called Tuesdays with Maury. I think that's correct. I think it's a correct book. It talks about a guy who knew he was going to die. I think he had ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. I think that was a disease he had. He knew he was going to die. So what he did was he basically started to have Tuesdays or whatever the day was where he would be with his family and friends and basically say goodbye because he knew he was going to die. Now, most people couldn't take death like that. That is an exception, which is why there's a book and that's why it's exceptional. To accept death like that is very odd. I hope I can be that way when my time comes, if my time comes that way. I'm not saying I will be that way. I hope I can be that way. I hope I can be accepting and letting people go. I do hope I can be that way. I don't know if I can. I mean, it's challenging, but he did it, and basically had a eulogy and a ceremony, a funeral ceremony, while he was still alive. I mean, what an amazing idea. When you know you're going to go, have the people who love you say what they want to say while you're there. Have people have those conversations while you're there. The closure that you're giving those you love is insane. They're going to hurt no matter what. You can't get away with the hurt. If you love someone and they pass, you're going to hurt. But to give someone that closure is amazing. I wish we could all do that. I hope I could be that way. Missy, you'll be with me. So call me out. See if I can actually be that way. I would love to be that way if I could. So yes. So all right. I hope that was interesting enough. Let me walk down another road. My mother. After my father passed and I left and became a Marine, my mother couldn't handle it. It was too much for her too much loss for her. And she fell into drugs. Initially legal, as so many people did, and then eventually illegal. And she eventually became an addict. And when you have an addict in your life, and some of you, again, addiction is a part of American culture now. Most of you listening, either you've been an addict or there's someone in your life has been or is one now. The odds are high you've seen it somehow in your family or in yourself. And addicts will very often just kind of go away. Like you just won't hear from them for either days or weeks or months or whatever the case may be. They just kind of go away. And my mom just kind of went away. I didn't understand why. I didn't know what was happening, right? I was too young and naive to understand that. And still, my parents, they're my parents. They don't have those problems, right? That's not my mom, right? That's your mom. That's not my mom, right? That's how most people think. It's how I thought too, right? Yeah, maybe your mom is like that, not mine. My mom is special. Well, no, my mom was human, just like everybody else's mom, just like everybody else. But I guess it's how I thought. Naivete, I don't know, hubris, whatever it was, not my mom. And when I felt that she was just going away, I got so angry. And when I realized what it actually was, it made me angrier. Because it's very hard, and again, if you've been through this before, it's hard to accept that someone who's an addict will choose the substance over you. That's hurtful. It hurt me. My mom chose her substance over me. What a horrible person she was. No, what a human she was. All addicts do that. But I didn't want to hear that when I was a kid. I didn't want to hear that, right? Who wants to hear that? I don't want to hear that. But I had to accept that as true. And I was angry. I was mad. I felt betrayed. I thought, how could you do that? No, not me. I'm your son. I'm your only son, and my father is dead. You can't abandon me. You can't do that. Well, when you're an addict, yes, you can. I didn't want to hear that. So I walked away from my mom. Walked away from her. It's like, you know what? If you choose a substance over me, take the substance. That's your new son. I'm out. I did some stuff which was closure for me, but it's hard for me to even talk about. I was in the Marine Corps when this happened, and I literally changed my life insurance away from my mom because when you're in the military, you have to have a beneficiary, right? It's a beneficiary for in case you get killed in combat. I think when I was in the Marine Corps, it was $200,000. I forgot whatever the number was. I think it was $200,000. There was the military gives you the option of having life insurance for free. I think it's free, and you can like ask for more, and you pay some out of your paycheck or something. But there's the government. If you die, the government will write a check, right? It's not a massive check, but it's a check. It's clearly not worth your son or your daughter or your husband, but the government will write you a check that says, oh, his life was worth X dollars. And I think mine was $200,000 at the time, maybe $100,000, whatever it was. I changed my life insurance away from my mom, who was going to get the check, to two kids who couldn't afford to go to school. I forgot where it was. Philippines? Korea, Thailand? I forgot. I think it was Philippines. There were two kids who couldn't go to school in the Philippines, and I'd met them when I was in the Philippines. I met them, and they couldn't afford it, and either mom was passed or dad passed, one of the two. So I literally had my life just go to them, so they can go to school if I got killed in some combat, because I took it away from my mom because I was like, that's it. I don't have a mom anymore. I told people my mom died. I told people I didn't have any parents. My father died, and then my mom died. That's what I did. I told people my mom had died. When she hadn't, I just hadn't heard from her in months because addicts go away. I didn't know that when I was 19. I didn't get that when I was 19 years old. I couldn't get it. But here's the most important piece. When my mom hit rock bottom, when she did hit rock bottom, she did eventually, and most addicts will eventually hit rock bottom. Most will. Some sadly will die before they hit rock bottom. Hopefully, if you have an addict in your life, they'll hit rock bottom before they die. My mom did. She had lost everything. Lost the house. We had 2 cars at one point, lost both cars. Lost the house. Lost her job, friends, family, everything, all gone. She was in prison. They were letting her out. I'd come back from the Marines. And she reached out to me. You know? In fact, she reached out to me once, if I remember right. She reached out when she got arrested and she was going to get sentenced. And she reached out because her lawyer said a note from her son would maybe help in sentencing, right, when she was convicted. And she reached out to me via a letter. This is 90s or 80s? 80s or 90s. I forgot when. 80s or 90s. I forgot when it was. She reached out to me. I think it's early 90s or late 80s, one or two. She reached out to me via a letter and says, can you help me by writing a letter? And of course, there was a part of me that was angry. I was like, now you need me. Now you can ignore me for years. You can ignore me when I need you. You can ignore me, and now you need me? Of course, there was a part of me that said that. Of course there was. Anger, regret, vindictiveness, pettiness, all those things. I'm human. I felt them. And I said, no, she's my mom. I'm going to do that. And I came through. And I wrote a heartfelt letter on Marine Corps stationery, how important my mom was, the errors that she made, blah, blah, blah. I wrote a whole letter, signed it. I think I was a corporal in the Marine Corps. I think it was a corporal or a sergeant. I forgot which one. And I wrote the whole thing, signed it, the whole thing, Marine Corps stationery, sent it back. It affected the judge. I know, sounds crazy. And my mom got let out earlier than she should have. She was a convicted felon, got out much earlier. She got out when I was back in the States when she came out. And I went to her. I'd saved a bunch of money up. I was single Marine, not doing much. I'm not a crazy spender. It's not who I am. I saved a bunch of money up. And I came out. And I literally got her out of prison. I got her out of jail. I pulled her out. She had 2 bags. And that was her entire life. 2 garbage bags. They were physically black garbage bags. So she had 2 black garbage bags. Was everything in her life. That was it. My mom was, in her 40s? My mom was in her 40s. Imagine being in your 40s, having to restart your entire life with 2 garbage bags, and you're an addict. Wow. But I said, you know what? I'm going to try to do my best. I'm going to be there when no one else is there. It's what I talked about earlier, right? That's when family matters more than anything. Being there when everyone else is gone. Because she thought she had friends. And if you've been in that world, you think you have friends until you're in jail, and then you don't. then you don't. No one loves you then, right? You were awesome when you had money and you had drugs. Then everyone loved you, right? All of a sudden now, then they don't love you anymore, right? So out. Anyway, I took my savings. I got an apartment, a studio apartment on Long Island, where we were living at the time. On Long Island, I wasn't living in Long Island. I was stationed, I think, in DC. But I drove up, pulled her out, took time off, right? The whole deal. Got her a car, bought her a used car, got her that, and then tried to help her find a job. Nobody else was there for her, really, until later, as when she started to get back up, then people came back to her, which was funny, which was good. I mean, I guess I shouldn't complain. They're not her family, right? They were just friends, but they came back to her after. Oh, okay, you're out of jail and you're getting clean. And okay, and they all came back to her. So that was good. But the point I want to tell a story, because you might feel that way too, that maybe there's no way of coming back, but there is. I literally had told people that my mother died. I had changed my life insurance in the Marine Corps to 2 kids who couldn't go to school. They were like, I don't know, teenagers. I forgot how old they were, kids. Because I just said, this is a good reason. This is my legacy now. I didn't have any kids. I wasn't married, and I had no siblings. My only family was my mother, who had abandoned me. So, all right, you kids go to college. Fine, whatever, right? I'm sorry, not even school. In wherever they were, they had to pay for regular, like K through 12 school, and they had to rotate which kid go to school. I remember the story because it affected me so much. Like they could only afford 1 kid out of the family to go to school per year. So they were all behind years in school because they couldn't afford all the kids to go. So one would go, then one would stay home the next year. The other one would go, other one would stay home the next year. They were doing it like that. I'm like, no, take my money and just go to school. Anyway, I changed everything back. I shifted and I got my mother back in my life. And to be forward, we were closer than ever when she passed. We were closer than ever when she passed. Sometimes when your relationship, particularly in family, is horrible, terrible, and bad, coming back from that can fix it, can make it even stronger, can make it even better. If you can get through the tough part, sometimes it can be even stronger. Let me grab a couple more comments if I could. All right. Let's see here. Nate says, happy holidays, Beaver Tree Larry. Like, comment, and share. Yes, guys, please like, comment, share. Nate is correct. If you like it, then do me a favor right now. Click that like button. Right now, click the like button if you could. That would be awesome. If you haven't already, please click it. Whatever you're on, the like button. It does matter. Nate is correct. Yes. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Absolutely. If you can, please do so. All right. Danny says, was definitely more than what I get from my security company right now, 10K. Yeah, it was more than 10K, Danny. I don't remember which one, but it was definitely much more. Yes. Dave says, in 1985, it was worth 35,000. 1990 Desert Storm Shield, it was 50,000, I think. When I went back to have duty in 2000, I think it was 100,000. I don't know what that. You know what? Thank you, Dave. It was 50K. That's what it was. Now that you say that, I now remember. It was $50,000 what it was. Yes. And I think before I got out, it was going up to 100. That's why that 100 number was in my head. But yes, at that time, it was 50K. You're correct. Thank you. This is probably 89 or 90. Maybe 91. It was right in that area. So yes, it was 50K. You're correct. Thank you for that. And they either did or were talking about going to 100,000 before I got out in the mid 90s. So yeah, Dave is exactly correct. Thank you, Dave, for that reminder. That is accurate. Yes. Sam says, tough year for us all of us. I'm sorry. My dad passed 2 days before Thanksgiving. Oh, Sam. It's tough when bad things happen around the holidays, It's tough. I mean, I guess there is a silver lining in that at least during the holiday season, you get an extra time to think about the people who you love who passed during that time. But it's just tough, right? You want to celebrate, but you sometimes feel bad celebrating, but you sometimes feel good celebrating. It can make things tough. So I'm sorry to hear that, Sam. There were not enough beds available at the cancer center when he was diagnosed. We know who was in charge of that. Yeah. Yeah. You say that's a little bit off topic, but the lockdowns are going to affect a lot of people in a lot of ways, which is the reason why I do this. Because you may or may not know this, but substance abuse in America, New York particularly, is very high. People are mad and upset about, the Chinese are sending fentanyl to kill us. People are asking for fentanyl. I want you to be clear about this. There are a lot of addicts who want fentanyl. If you've had an addict in your life, or if you were one, either one of those, you know that when overdoses happen, that draws addicts to it. There are addicts that actually want fentanyl, lots of them, but sadly by the hundreds of thousands in this country probably right now. I'd guess that much, who want it. They're looking for fentanyl. It's cheap and it's a harsh high, which is what they want. That's why they're getting it. This system's broken. Our social structure is broken. This shouldn't be a thing, but it is. These people are looking for this, and we're not ready for it. We're not ready for it. And most of that happened because they were all left alone for 2 years to make everything worse. So thank you. Dave goes on, Larry, if there wasn't a demand, there wouldn't be a market. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So thank you for sharing that, Sam. And thank you guys for sharing. I know some of you may not get it or agree with me, but I really think sharing matters. It sounds cheesy. I know it does. It sounds like, oh, Larry's being like one of these guys, tell me about your mother, right? Like that kind of guy. No, I think sharing makes things better, particularly when other people feel the same thing, right? And this is the part about family and friends, right? When I go to friends, I'll cover friends in a minute, but I just want to touch this piece on friends. One of the glory of having friends who are close to you is you can see that other families have the same problems that your family has. And we all think that, or our family, we think one of the things, our family is so super special, super cool. It's not. It's like every other family. Or the reverse. My family's so screwed up. It's not. It's like every other family. Every family has screwed up parts. Every family has amazing parts. Every family has good times. Every family has bad times. That's how it works, right? That's just how it works. And when you have close friends who will tell you and openly tell you about the issues, the glory and the pain in their family, the embarrassment and the shame and the glory and the pride that the families have, you'll go, you know what, mine too. I'm so proud of this aspect of my family, who did this or what that or blah, blah, blah. And I'm embarrassed by this part. Man, we did this or someone did that. Or I did this, or I did that. We all have that. Every one of us has that in our family, right? There's the old saying, there's always a black sheep in the family. That's a saying, but that's not really true. There's always bad things that happen. Sometimes one person has a worse luck than the other or does bad things. Yes, but the whole family's affected by it either way. So thank you guys for sharing, for those of you who are sharing so much. I want to go to the part of family and holiday season. It's kids. And this part is going to make some of you unhappy because you disagree with me. But I'm going to cover it anyway because I think it matters. Most of the time, the holiday season, Christmas in particular, but many parts of the holiday season, is thought of as being, it's for the kids. It's for the kids. It's for the kids, for them to have healthy memories and such. And part of that's true. I don't want to take that away. Part of that absolutely is true. And again, in my own family, we only exchange gifts for kids. Right? We don't exchange gifts. My wife and I don't exchange gifts during Christmas. Most adults we don't. Here or there, but most don't. Most time it's kids to kids, right? So that's true. We do that ourselves. So I also follow in that kind of tradition. But there are two parts to this I want to bring up. The first one is, if you want to have healthy holiday seasons, it can't only be about the kids. And sometimes we forget this. And we focus so much on the kids that we don't focus on each other. We should focus on kids. They do matter, of course. But if you are part of a family where it's grandma, grandpa, or mother, father, whatever the case may be, you're like, you got to stop being selfish. This is not about us. This is about the kids. You are going to have bad relations. You're going to. You might think you're righteous. You might feel righteous because, well, it's not about me. See, I'm not being selfish. It's not about me. It's about the kids. However, how does your cousin feel who's ill? Or your grandma feels who's alone? Or your spouse feel who's like, well, what about us? You have to make sure that it's not only about the kids. And kids doesn't necessarily mean your kids. Often people will make a holiday season. If you're an aunt or an uncle or a stepdad or stepmom or grandma or grandpa, your kids you might either not have kids or your kids have already left the household. So it isn't only about your direct line kids, right? It's kids in your family is what I meant. I should be clearer with that. I'm sorry, I may not have been clear. I mean kids in your family, whether they are directly yours or not. If you're, in your 70s or 80s now, the odds of you having small children are slim. You probably have adult kids if you have kids. You're worried about grandkids, right? So you may be ignoring your adult kids and just caring about your grandkids, right? If you're an aunt and an uncle, you don't have kids of your own. You may care about your godchildren. You may care about your niece, your nephew, whatever. But you still got brothers and sisters and or brothers or sisters, and you still got parents and cousins and stuff. All I'm saying is care about them too. Make them a piece that matters. Make them something that matters. Because if you don't, you may feel righteous, but they're going to feel neglected. And here's the worst part. When you need them, they will act the same in return. And I'll bring this up for people who are right now in a partnership / spousal girlfriend boyfriend relationship. If there are children involved in that relationship, and very often in today's world, we have a lot of blended families, right? So you've got a girlfriend and you have kids and she has kids, or one of you has kids and kids are involved, right? It's very common. And they may not be both of your kids. It's someone else's children with your friend or partner or girlfriend, whatever the case may be, spouse. Focusing on just that, those kids, is going to make your relationship worse. Let me say it again. Focusing on just the kids will make your relationship worse, not better. You're not righteous for doing it. You're actually selfish. When it comes to your family, you're not going to have good relationships because you're a good father or a good mother. You get a relationship because you're a good husband, a good wife, a good son, right? A good cousin, a good brother, a good sister. You have to focus on that too. Focusing on children can very often be a cop-out. I hope I didn't make some of you angry, but if I did, too bad, it's true. Don't allow it to be a cop-out. Make your kids important, because they are. Make the kids in your life important, because they are. Just don't forget about the other people in your world. And we do it often. We do it all the time. But Larry, you don't understand. We're adults. We don't exchange gifts. No worries. You can't be nice. You can't express a thank you. You can't express I'm glad you're my cousin. I'm glad you're my mom. I'm glad you're my brother. You can't express that kind of stuff. You can't say I love you. You can't say I'm glad you're here during the holidays. You can, and you should. People want to feel important. People want to feel valued. People want to feel acknowledged. It's just human. You do too. So do I. We all do. So when you're focusing on kids during the holiday season, please do so. That's awesome. If that's your culture. I mean, not everyone does that, but if you do, awesome. And this is a yes and, right? For you improv people. This is a yes and focus on the adults in your life. They all matter. You've got to focus on all of them. Larry, it's a lot. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. And so what? So what? It's a lot. I want to go on the piece if I could. This is in-laws and grandparents and that type, not direct family that you may be dealing with every day. Or maybe you are, but not direct family in your household. Very often, parts of your family you won't get along with. It's common. You don't get to pick your family, right? So you get them. And you don't often get along. Happens to all of us. And I'm sure you can think of someone in your family right now who you don't like, whether it's a cousin, grandma, in-law, something. Be very forward with you. I never got along well with my in-laws. My wife didn't get along with her in-laws. Our families did not get along very well. Just true, right? Did not get along very well. But one thing that we didn't do is we didn't decide that because we didn't get along, that we had to alienate other parts of the family or be jerks to others. What do I mean by that? For many years, I did not get along with my wife's mom. And this is public knowledge. So I'm not like telling on somebody. Did not get along with her at all. For many years, did not get along with her at all. Didn't want to talk to her. She didn't want to talk to me. And it was mutual, right? It wasn't like just me, right? This was mutual. She didn't want to talk to me. I didn't want to talk to her. We did not get along at all. That was, and again, I'm not going on someone's back. She would acknowledge it. I would acknowledge it. Everyone knows this. We did not get along at all. Did I stop my wife from seeing her mom? No. Did I stop my wife from being? No. Did I stop my kids from seeing their grandma? No. Of course not. People do it. They think, well, they're bad. They're bad people, right? Whatever. They're bad influences. And maybe you have an aunt or an uncle or a grandma or an in-law or something who you think's a bad influence on your daughter or on your wife or on your spouse or whatever. If you physically stop them, if you go out of your way to break them down, if you go out of your way to do that, you are just making everything worse for everybody. If your family and your daughter and or son or wife or whomever, if they're savvy, if they're smart, if they're human, if they're wise, they'll figure it out. But if they don't figure it out, everybody gets along with that person except you. Might be you. Might be you. And that doesn't feel good, but it might be you. And to be forward, that part I accepted, that it could be me, that maybe I'm the bad guy here. Maybe I am. So let everyone else do what they're going to do. Let them all hang out and do whatever they want to do, right? And get along. Let's just say that it may not be me. That's all I'm going to say. But if I believe that, then I should allow and not try to stop people from getting along with people who's part of their family. And they'll figure it out. That either it's me or it's that person, or the two of us just don't get along. But other people might, right? Just because you don't like me doesn't mean other people don't like me. Just because I don't like you doesn't mean other people don't like you, right? I mean, maybe you might be a bad person. I could be a bad person. It's possible. But odds are you and I don't get along. So why would I hurt the relationships of others? That is selfish. I feel like I'm not being so. I'm saving my daughter. I'm saving my wife from this bad relationship. See how selfless I am? I'm not. I'm being selfish. Let them go, have the relationship, and they'll figure it out. And they'll have the relationship that works for them. And some people don't mind having distance relationships. Not every relationship you have has to be you talk to them all the time. Not every relationship has to be you guys are hanging out every single night together. Not everyone has to be that. Can be. Doesn't have to be. Your relationship, you don't want to force that on others in your family. If you start doing that, things are going to be tough. So the Carnell butterfly says, very true. Focusing on the other parent gives the children more security in the family. I cannot tell you how awesome that is. You are so correct. Something to remember. Children don't do what we say. They do what we do. What I've often said, and this is going to be a little bit for some of you, again, you may not like it because I know parents get mad at me when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's my opinion. You are under no obligation to follow my opinion. I hope you do because I think I'm right, but you are under no obligation to follow my opinion. You are not going to have a good relationship with your spouse by being a good mother or father. Let me repeat that. You're not going to have a good relationship with your spouse by being a good mother or father. That's not going to happen. You're going to have a good relationship with your spouse by being a good spouse. And that may sound crazy, but we do it all the time. It's not about me and you, it's about the kids. Right? Stop being selfish. Focus on the kids. That is actually a bad thing. And if you focus too much on your kids, you'll not only destroy your marriage, you will also destroy your kids. Both. A child-centered family, and I know some of you will be angry, is not a good thing. Let me say it again. A child-centered family is not a good thing. It will spoil your children, make them think that the world revolves around them. It does not. The world will stop when they're sick. It will not. It will make them think that mommy, they will always be there to protect them. You will not. And we'll also let them show what an actual relationship works, how it works. So they won't understand. They won't understand that you have to give attention to the person that matters to you, which is the other parent or the spouse, either one. If you are a better mother or a better father, that's nice. But if you are a better husband or a better wife, you will by default be a better mother or better father, because you will be showing your children what it means to be a spouse, to be a partner, to be functioning in a family. To the Cornell Butterflies example, you will show them that the family matters. There are many reasons why the family is collapsing in America. Many. One of them is a child-centered family, which doesn't care about the spouses, each other, which we're focused on everything else other than the relationship. Not just children, focusing too much on other family, focusing too much on career, focusing too much on whatever, right? We're focusing on other things versus focusing on each other, which is the critical aspect. If we focus more on each other, we'll have better relationships. And don't get me wrong, I have failed at this too. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm the perfect husband. I am in no way, my wife would attest to this, I am not the perfect husband. I try my damnedest to be the best husband I can. I try and I fail. To be forward with you, I'm happy to share this for some of you who may not know this. I have almost been divorced 3 times. I've been very close 3 times in my life. I've been with my wife now 22 years. There's 3 times I can say I am lucky, and I will say this again, and I mean this. I am lucky that I'm not divorced. The harsh times I've hit my family, my daughter almost dying, financial ruin, all that's hit my family, and many, probably most marriages would have collapsed. Most probably would have. And it wasn't because I was so smart or so savvy. I made mistakes too. And I said things I shouldn't have said, just like you have, and we all have. Done things I shouldn't have done, just like all of us should. So it's my wife too, and I'm not talking out of turn. She'd admit that too. She's said things she shouldn't have said, done things she shouldn't have done. Me too. We're both guilty in this. No doubt. And I'll talk about romance in a minute. We'll get to romance and to friends in a moment, but I'm still on family right now. When it comes to this aspect, focusing on each other and the family as a unit is far more important than focusing only on children. And that is totally against what everyone's telling you today. Everyone's like, it's all about the children, all about the kids. Kids don't do what we say. They do what we do. If you're a crappy spouse, they're going to be crappy spouses because you're a crappy spouse. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's reality, right? If you're bad at a whole bunch of stuff, they're going to copy you. Because kids copy. The amount of times I've had to push myself, right, to not do that, it's been hard. To be clear, I failed at this too. I'm not sitting there from the top of a mountain telling you I'm so smart. I have made the same mistakes. I am lucky I'm still married. I'm telling you this because I watched it. Only difference is my day job, I do this for a living in my day job. So I'm able to analyze this better than most because I do it for a living. But I make the same mistakes. And I have made them. And I know you have too. If you're watching it, you're like, yeah, I've done that too. Yes, you have, because you're human. We all do. I'm asking us to change that. That's what I'm asking you. And to think about that now, because why do I say it now? Why now? Why don't I do this in January? I'm sorry. Why don't I do this in June or in August? Because if you all of a sudden go to your husband, your wife, your spouse, your friend, whomever, grandma, and you start talking about this stuff, then I think, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Use the holiday season as an excuse. It's the perfect time. Now's your time. You're fighting with your wife, you're fighting with your husband, you're mad at your boyfriend, you're mad at your girlfriend, your partner, whatever. Use this time. Blame me. I was listening to Larry Sharpe, and he told me this thing. So you know what? I'm gonna. This is not a bad thing. Prefacing why you're starting things will actually make it go over better. You've been fighting with your boyfriend, fighting with your girlfriend, upset, whatever the case may be. All right, okay. Now, go talk to him. Pick up that phone, text him, whatever's the way you email him, whatever's the way you communicate. Say, hey, I want to talk. And it's not bad, it's good. Say that. It's not bad, it's good. I'm going to talk. It's not bad, it's good. Okay, great. Pick up the phone and call you, whatever. Sit together in your house, coffee shop, whatever you do. Hey, it's holiday time. Making me think. Let's make some changes. Let's have a conversation. And I would argue that if you really want to start this new thing with your spouse or your family member or your mother or your father or your sister or your brother and it's broken, I would start, if I were you, with an apology. I might go, Larry, I'm going to apologize to my brother. He's a jerk. I'm proud of my sister. My sister's a jerk. Whatever. Maybe your sister is a jerk. Your sister, I don't know. But if you act actually do that and start with an apology, they will show their true selves. This idea is an idea from a genius friend of mine named Mark Goulston. He's a PhD, brilliant guy, wrote several books. Mark Goulston, check it out. Any of his books, they're all good. His best one, I think, is a book called Just Listen. But any book Mark Goulston writes, you should read. He's brilliant and he's always right. So read his books. Mark Goulston talks about an idea of bare your throat. Bare your throat. And you will now see who cares and who doesn't. So if you can fix things with your sister, if you can fix things with your mom or dad, bare your throat. See what they do. Do they go, okay, let's have a conversation? Or do they say, that's it, you're out, you're done? What do they do? Bare your throat. Have that conversation. You don't have to say, I'm sorry for what you did. That's okay if you are sorry. Please don't apologize for something you're not sorry for, right? Apologize for whatever you're sorry for. If you're not sorry for what you did, don't say that. If you're sorry things fell apart, say that. If you're not sorry things fell apart, why are you having a conversation? So I'm assuming you're at least sorry that things have fallen apart or that you're in a bad spot. Say so. I'm really sorry that things are bad between us. I didn't want that. That wasn't my goal. If you start that way, now you can have a conversation. If you start with, you know what, I've decided I've forgiven you for your errors. And that's how we start. Boy, that's not going to go over well. I forgive you for how screwed up you are, sister. I forgive you, mom, how dumb you are. Don't do that, please. That's not helpful. Bare your throat. See what happens. That's your best shot. Am I promising you that you'll fix relationships? Of course not. How could I promise that? I don't know. Here's what I promise you. You'll feel better in the long run. Short run, you might not because it might go poorly. Right? So that day you might be like, why did I listen to that stupid Larry Sharpe? He's an ass. Why listen to him? It's possible. But wait a week. You'll be like, you know what? I'm glad I did it. Didn't work, but I did the right thing. I feel better. Something else. You'll know exactly where you stand, which is even better. Carno goes on to say, the kids are my blood. You're not. Wow. It's the fastest way to wreck a relationship. Yep. It also makes children wonder if you'll stop loving them too. Connor, you are hitting it out of the park today. You're exactly right. Think about this. If your kids see you diss their mother or father aggressively, diss them, why would they ever think they can have a good relationship? Why would they think that? You've shown them that you can't. You've shown them that children are more important. And here's the worst part for you to think about this. If you have a spouse right now, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, someone close to you, a significant other, I'll say that, the children will go away. They always go away. They're supposed to go away. They're going to have their own life. Who's left? Who's left? You're going to be a leech on your own kids? That's what you're going to do. You let your kids live their life. To do that, you have to. You know, you have to. What are you going to do? Be with your spouse, I hope. I hope. So, yes, thank you for that. It's very important to do that. Thank you. Logic goes on to say, blood doesn't always matter from parent to child either. I'm adopted myself and can say my bio mom was in a similar situation Larry was. It's been a bit of a rough road. I'll go one step further, Logic. I'm adopted also. And my mother, who I talk about, was my adopted mother. I never met my biological parents. So yeah, there's no blood in my family, if that makes any sense. There's no blood in my family. Yes, correct. My mother, who I just spoke about earlier, was my adopted mother. But she's the woman who raised me. She is my mother. So that's why I don't say my adopted mother, because she's my mother. My father who died was my adopted father. So yes, I don't say those words because they don't mean anything to me, but you are correct, right? You are accurate and correct. I'm also adopted. So yeah, and for those of you who are Christian, well, I think it's also Jewish too. If you're from the Abrahamic religions, I think this is accurate in all three of them. I'm pretty sure it is. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. In all the Abrahamic religions, if you follow any of them, the only place where two become one is in marriage. That's it. Never the place. Each person is responsible for their own. That's it. The only place in Scripture, I think it's in all three Abrahamic religions, but it may It may just be Christian, but I'm pretty sure it's in all three. Because I think it's Old Testament. I think it's Old Testament. I'm not that good on my Old Testament. If someone is Jewish who knows the Old Testament well, you correct me. I would love that if you do. But I'm pretty sure it is the only place where two become one is in marriage under the eyes of God, right? You two become one. So yeah, that's not blood. Literally, not blood. And Abrahamic religions regard that as an actual fusion. So yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely. So Logic goes on to say, some parents rather play best friends than parents in this day and age. I don't have kids, just an observation based on opinion as well. I agree with you completely. I want to be part of my children's life, and I am. However, I'm very clear with them. I tell them these words: I'm not your friend, I'm your father. I tell them that. Like, they know that. I am crystal clear on that. I'm not my daughter's friend. I am their father. And I will always be that till the day they put me in a box. I will always be their father. So, yes. All right. Grace says, my husband and I buy the adults in our families food. Oh, Grace, that is a wonderful, I'm going to steal that. That is a wonderful idea. Buy the adults food, same thing for friends and neighbors. That is a great idea, Grace. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's a wonderful idea. So good. Very good. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yes. Nate goes on to say, Larry, I hope you can do something for your mother-in-law that she will appreciate and bury the hatchet. Nate, I already have. I didn't want to tell that story, but I will now. I have already done that. I have already buried the hatchet. We're already good. We talk now. All good. I have done so. I have practiced what I preached. I have. Absolutely. I definitely was angry for many years. That's true. But I did practice what I preach, and I did come back and fix it, and we have no problem now. And to be fair, she's actually much older now and actually very frail now. My worry is she may pass soon. She's in her 80s now, right? I think I might have told some of you the story that when COVID, I had two people in the 80s in my family who I was worried about because they were in their 80s and had pre-existing conditions, which, if you know, when it comes to COVID, that's the sweet spot for COVID, right? You're old with multiple pre-existing conditions. That's the sweet spot. So I was concerned, and she was one of the people who I was concerned about, and I went there. I did a lot to help. Absolutely. The other person, sadly, in my life recently passed. Wasn't because of COVID. Something different, but that person recently passed. So I have one in my life over 80 who I was concerned about. So yes, thank you for that, Nate. I did do that. Absolutely. Joe says, happy Festivus. Festivus for the rest of us. Yes, absolutely. That's why this is a holiday season. See, I put a tree in the back here because I celebrate Christmas. But if you don't celebrate Christmas, no worries. This is a holiday season. You don't have to celebrate Christmas. Not required. All good. And I hope you can enjoy the holiday season, whether or not you celebrate Christmas. I do. And I think we should all be proud of the holidays we celebrate. And if it's Festivus, well done. Happy Festivus. Absolutely. Yes. Sam says, I like your Bay Throat philosophy. I have used sometimes with great success. Yeah. And the worry, of course, Sam, is you got to expect that sometimes, right, you're going to get the attack. It's not always go as well as you would like. Yes, absolutely. 100%. All right. Merlin says, New York has strapped me down with high prices to go out and closing most bars and cheap places to go and meet people. Bars and gyms, malls used to be everywhere. Everything's gone, jobs too. This, Merlin, is a great, yes, I got to be clear. You are correct. So I'm going to cover friends and romance in a minute. Maybe I'll move on to friends. But the point you bring up is a very valid one. How are you going to meet people now? It's hard. More and more people are going online. More and more people are having relationships only through this right here, Zoom or a phone call or texting, or more and more. You're correct. That's true. It is harder. But remember something. Difficult does not mean impossible. It means difficult, right? So yes, it will be harder. 100%, right? Yes, it will be harder. It will be. But you know what? Do the hard things. It's how you get what's important. Yes. So you're correct. How are we going to meet people now? Here's what I think you want to consider, Merlin, or anyone else who's listening who's having trouble meeting people. Try to be as niche as possible, or niche I like niche, but you pick the phrase you want. As niche as possible. What does that mean? Find something you enjoy and you want to talk about, whatever that thing is, whether that's baseball or or maybe it's working out. You said gyms, maybe it's working out. Maybe you like whiskey, it's bars, you're a whiskey specialist, you like whiskey or whatever. I don't care what the thing is. You pick the thing that you want to talk about and then look for an online community that talks about that thing and see when they're meeting and where and go. I know it sounds kind of, weird, but it's a very good way to meet people. Find a niche. And you won't always meet like a lover. You might, you never know, but no matter what, you'll meet friends. And hopefully from friends, you will, if you're looking for a lover, that is, obviously not everyone's looking for romance. But if you're looking for romance, hopefully you will find it through friendship. But go find some new friends, which is always nice to find new friends. Find new friends. Looking for friends, awesome. You got friends. You have a community, awesome. Got community. Looking for romance, that can come from that, whatever you're looking for when you're looking for it. So I would start there. It is harder. I agree. There's now multiple steps when you could just go to a bar, go to a mall, go to a gym. I agree. Back when I was still dating, my wife doesn't let me date, so I can't date anymore. Back when I was dating, I'd often go to clubs or places like that and meet women because I was looking for romance all the time. So yes, I would. I met a woman who I really adored in a parking lot. Right? I was selling I was selling pavement services and parking lot striping and stuff like that back in the 90s. And I met a woman who I really adored in a parking lot. I didn't care. So yes, you go out and meet people. Not as easy today as it was then. I totally agree. But remember, difficult does not mean impossible. It means difficult. It can be done. I would focus on a niche area. Try that. Doesn't work. Another niche. Try that. Another niche. Until you find something. You want to be able to talk to people about things. That's not relationships. One of the reasons why online dating can become so difficult is everyone's talking about the relationship, right? I'm going into romance a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to bring it up anyway. When you meet people, it's a whole lot easier if you're not talking about relationship the second you meet. And on dating apps, often that's how it starts. Some dating apps have changed. They shift into other things first. You meet this way, talk about this first, which is a better way of doing things. Way better than that, right? Can you meet the love of your life on like a Tinder app? You can. It's totally possible. People have, right? You just wanted to hook up and you connected from the hookup. It does happen. It's just not as common as one might think. It's not very common, right? It does happen. No question. You could go on Tinder, meet someone or Grindr, whatever's good for you. You meet on one of the apps, go hook up, and it could become the love of your life. That's totally possible. It does happen. Just rarer than you might think. So you probably want to start with something that you both agree upon. And that's why I like the niche piece. You all agree on, you both like specialized whiskey. You both like working out, or right. You both like whatever. Beanie Babies. Is that still a thing? Whatever. You both like the thing. You talk about that thing first. And from that you connect. And then you either become friends, which is awesome. Maybe there's no romance there, or you become romantic, which is still good. I hope that was helpful at all, but you're correct. You're absolutely correct. Yes. All right. Karna goes on to say, I stopped watching The View the day all the hosts said that children were more important than the other parent. That's why they're all divorced. So yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Joe says, I always thought that the apology conversation with no one's perfect. They think I'm referring to myself. I'm not. Obviously, it's their fault. Nicely done, Joe. I like that. Yeah, nobody's perfect, especially you. Yeah, that's good. Yes, but the point is, yes, absolutely, yes, 100%. Logic goes on to say, I met my biological mom in my mid-20s. Sometimes it's better not to know, but we have somewhat of a decent relationship. I'm thankful for that. It is what it is. That is a very healthy, strong, great way of thinking about it. I love that. I guess I wouldn't mind meeting my biological mom. I guess I wouldn't mind. I mean, I'm in my 50s now, so who knows if my biological mom's even alive. I don't know how old she was when she had me. I think she was 21, 22. She's probably in her 70s. She might be alive somewhere. It's possible. But I'm not rushing to do so, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like I had my mom, but I wouldn't, like, if she reached out to me, I would happily engage. I wouldn't be against it. I'd happily engage. But I don't know. The time and money and energy to go find her, I'm not sure is something I want to do. But you make me think, maybe it is worth it. Maybe having that second relationship that's it. Maybe. Yes. Joe goes on, is to become one the reason government makes single people subsidize married income tax and yes, by the way, yes. As many of you know, much of government is based upon religious doctrine. It's true, much of it, not all of it, obviously, but much of it is. The idea of two becoming one in one household is heavily based upon culture and religion. Yes, both of those two. Absolutely, yes. So, Patty says, what about those who not want to participate in the holidays, but those around us are interested in insisting on it? Thank you. It feels so foreign to me after the last few years. I'm tired of faking it. Let me cover a concept, Patty, that this kind of goes into romance, but it also goes to family. So I'll cover both of those. Number one, generally speaking, in romance, and almost always in other relationships, but surely in romance, but almost always. A friend of mine once said, he said, Larry, when you have a problem, truth. When that doesn't work, more truth. When that doesn't work, more truth. So that's usually correct. There are some exceptions, obviously, but that's almost always correct in romance and usually correct in family and friends, but not always. Sometimes family and friends, it's good to just shut up. Sometimes, because you don't necessarily live with the person. If it's romantic and you're living with them, truth is critical. I mean, just critical. Transparency is critical. You don't live with them. You guys, you can see my point, right? The further away you are from them, the less that becomes critical. But if you want to rebuild something, maybe you don't like the holidays. Maybe it's bad for you. Maybe you have bad relationships. Maybe you have bad memories. I know people like that who've had terrible memories, and the holidays become a bad thing for them. I get it. And maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe the holidays have been a time when you've gone with your family's berated you or insulted you or tried to make or turn you or change you. That absolutely happens. I think you want to be honest about it. And right, Patty, if you were like Larry, say we were cousins, Patty, you and I were cousins. And when we were younger, I was a jerk to you. I was a jerk to you. And you, in response, beat me up when I fell down because I was a jerk to you when we were cousins, when we were kids. And then when I messed up as I got older, you rubbed it in my face. You're like, see, Larry, you screwed up. You're a screw up. You always be this. And you were bad. And we got together during Christmas. And that's when you would be mean to me, right? You would shove it in my face and how bad I was because I was a jerk to you when you were a kid. So you got me back as an adult and you felt it was fair. I didn't think it was that bad to you. So I thought you were mean and cruel. That's what I thought. Well, now you want me open for Christmas. I'm like, why? So you can call me a loser again? So you can rub my failures in my face again? I'm not coming to your house, Pat. I would not do with you. The holidays suck. Every time I go to the holidays, someone tells me what a loser I am. That kind of dynamic works in lots of families. And in this case, we're making this up. By the way, guys, Patty and I love Patty. She's my friend. We're not cousins. But in this fake scenario, we are cousins. So now I'm like, I don't want to come. And you get mad at me. See, I knew you were. You hate the family, whatever. It will be better if I would tell you. And I would say, Patty, I don't want to come because I hurt when I come because the things you say hurt me. Now, note what I said on that, how I said that. I didn't say, you are mean to me, you're a bad person. I said, the things you say hurt me. That's what I said. The things you say hurt me. So I don't want to come. Now, if I start that way, a couple options. Patty can go, you deserve it. You're a jerk. I hate you. All right, I shouldn't go. Then now you're not mad. I'm not coming to Christmas because you hate me. So let's stop pretending. And now we're not pretending. That takes away the faking part that you mentioned, Patty, right? Now we're not faking it. Now we know. You actually hate me, right? The damage I did to you as a kid, you now hate me. And it's out. And hopefully you will yell at me, and it's going to sound crazy, and tell me about the jerk that I was when I was a kid. You will say, oh, you're mad now? You weren't so mad when you were calling me names, when you were calling me names when we were kids, when I was doubting who I was, and I was 12, and you were calling me all these horrible names, making me feel terrible. You didn't care then, and I'm going to be like, what? Because I don't remember that, because it wasn't a big deal to me. That didn't scar me. That scarred you. So I didn't care. So now you tell me that. Now, I might go, you deserved it. You were a loser. In which case, done. We're not faking it now. We've ended this. We're not faking it. Or maybe I go, oh my God, Patty, I didn't mean that. I forgot about it. I didn't think I was doing it. And we can start healing. It doesn't get better tomorrow. I don't want to fool anybody and say one conversation and all of a sudden 20 years of cousins hating each other goes away. That's not how it works, right? It's not how it works. But can we begin the healing with some truth, with some hard truths? Not blaming. There is a massive difference between assigning blame and assigning responsibility. There's a massive difference. I'm going to blame Patty. Patty, it's all your fault for being mean and yelling at me. She's going to tell me, shut up. You were a jerk. I don't want to hear you. She's not going to. But if instead I just say, what you say hurts me. That's all I said. I didn't say it was Patty's fault. Nothing. And also, I'm taking some responsibility. I'm taking the responsibility also. I'm not taking blame, I'm taking responsibility. And I'm hoping that Patty will also take responsibility. She may not. I can't order her. I can tell what to do. I hope she will. And if she won't, hope she'll at least yell at me back. Yeah, but you did this to me. And now I can go, you know what? That's on me. I shouldn't have done that. And even if I were to say that to her, let's say Patty's holding this on for 20 years. In this case, Patty, I'm making you petty. I'm sorry. But in this case, you are, right? So I'm making you this, right? So all of a sudden, Patty's like, I'm holding on to this for 20 years and I'm never giving it up. And I'm going to keep punishing you every time I see you. If she does that, imagine how hurt she is to do that. Remember something, hurt people hurt. Please don't forget that. Hurt people hurt. And if she's out there hurting me constantly, it's because she's hurt. And probably I'm the one who hurt her. But I'm not going to get that because I'm mad because I'm hurt. So I just want to strike back at her, right? So everybody's hurt. Everybody's striking back. No one's thinking. No one's talking. Someone's got to say, Patty, I'm hurt. Here's how. Here's why. And Patty goes, well, I'm hurt too, jerk. Okay, let's have a conversation. And then maybe I go over for Christmas now. Maybe I do. And either we stop faking it no matter what. But maybe now she's a little bit better than me. She goes, you know what? I want to call my name, but I won't. I'm going to shut up now. I want to call Larry a name. I'm not going to. And now I want to say something smart back to Patty, but I don't. I don't. And we notice. And Patty notices. Well, I didn't say anything smart. I noticed. Patty didn't insult me. Huh. All right. Maybe this is real. And now we can begin to heal. And the hope is, if it's good, if I've got a decent, tight family, if I do, and we don't all have that, others notice too and go, damn, Patty, you didn't yell Larry. What happened? And you say, well, I heard we're happy at a conversation. Others support us. And that's a family I hope we have. And that family, to Logic's point, does not have to be blood. It can be, but it may not be. What if Patty and I are cousins through marriage? Right? My sister married her brother or something, right? So now we're through marriage. All of that could happen. So I'm sorry I went down a long road. I know I went down a long road. I am preachy. It's true. It's who I am. But Patty brings up a very valid point. It doesn't have to be that way, right? Patty says it is about so much loss. There we go. I feel this time of year reminds me of so much loss that hurts and sucks. Here's the part that I will add for all community. And this goes to friends, I think, often more than family. As I was talking about earlier with friends. I'm going to shift into friends for a bit. Why are friends and community so valuable? Because when you have friends, they can share both your loss and your gain, both your pain and your joy. And if your friends can share your pain, it actually lessens the pain. And if your friends can share your joy, it actually magnifies the joy. So if you have family that can do that even better, but sadly, it can't always be family. Depends, but it can't always be family. Sometimes family is also feeling the pain and they attack also, and it's different. So that depends. They will also sometimes attack. And that can be a problem, right? So sometimes friends are better at this. It depends on your family, right? But sometimes they're actually friends are better than family at sharing pain sometimes. The person who's supposed to be sharing your most pain is almost always going to be your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner. They're supposed to be sharing the pain and sharing the joy the most. They're supposed to be. If you have a good relationship with a significant other, that tends to be the best one. But it can be brother, sister. It can be cousin. It can be uncle. It can be anybody. So being reminded of your loss, I know it sucks. I would ask if you can find someone, Patty, who you think can share it with you. generally speaking, someone who shares the loss with you makes the loss better. There's a saying that I agree with completely. And I actually think Joe Biden brought it up. It's not a Biden saying, but I think Biden brought up the saying in one of his things about loss. He said, or whoever said it, I know Biden did say it. I think he said it from someone else. Did say, at one point you hope that remembering the person will bring more smiles than tears. And that's the goal, right? The goal is that when you remember the loss, that eventually, over time, the memory of it brings more smiles than it brings tears. And I think that's true in most cases. In most cases. Not all, obviously, right? Not all. When it comes to my mom, I think that's true. Of course, I was hurt when my mom passed. Of course I was. I mean, who likes them to pass? But I feel that now, thinking about my mom brings me much more smiles than tears. Not my father, though. I think my father's loss was so, I mean, I was a kid, was so harsh for me. I'll share this story with you for some of you who have to deal with things. I was so devastated by my father's loss when I was 11. My father dying when I was 11. He was the Superman to me, right? Think about an 11, 12-year-old boy and his father, right? Your father's, he's magical, right? He knows everything. He's the smartest guy and the strongest guy in the world. My father was in law enforcement too. He had a gun. I mean, he was Superman to me. Superman. When he died, devastating to my psyche. I couldn't handle it. I literally, it's a true story, I literally forgot the day he died. When I mean forgot, I really mean forgot. People would ask me when my father died. I could not remember the date or the time. I couldn't remember how old I still forget. Like as I'm walking, I forget 11, 12. Like I couldn't, for years, I would go to his gravesite. He's actually buried out in Calverton Cemetery out in Long Island, Suffolk County. And I would go out there and I would see, for those who don't know, there are flat, like footstones, flat footstones. They're not headstones, they're footstones and they're flat. So I'd go there, look at it, see the date that he died. It's right there. Literally, it's right there. See the date that he died and the plot that he's in. It's right there. I'd see it. Turn my head, forget. Could not remember. My mom would ask me, I go, I don't know. And I wasn't hiding it. Like I wouldn't hide the fact that my father died. People knew. I would tell them, yeah, my father died. Yeah, I wasn't hiding it. When he died, I was a kid. Well, what do you mean? How old were you? I was a kid. I could not remember. I could not remember who told me he died or the morning that he died. I just knew that he died. My brain surrounded that memory and pulled it away for a decade or more. I'm not joking. I was in my 20s before I could remember. My father died when I was 11 or 12. I was in my 20s before I could remember what day. I remember now. It was March 18th. I remember now. I could not remember then. And I wasn't hiding it. That is how much pain was in that. So I think for me, I still have pain when I think my father dying. And it's 40 years now, more than 40 years. It's over 40 years. I still have pain. I'm not like crying over it, right? For years I was. Actually, I stopped. I shouldn't say that. It's not true. I cried the first part of it, right? The first maybe months. After that, self-defense mechanism. It just didn't happen. I just think of it. It was just shut out of my brain. I was angry more than anything else. I was jealous of other people who saw their fathers, the boys particularly boys, because I was a boy. I was jealous and angry of other boys who had their fathers more than I was sad. I was bitter. Yeah, that's a better word. I was bitter. I think that's the emotion I had more than anything until I was in my 20s. I think it's one of the reasons why I went out of my way to join the Marine Corps, to find positive male role models, which I did, which is why I think eventually the Marine Corps, I always had the Marine Corps save my life, and I say it all the time. It also helped me to process my father's death. Having positive male role models in my life allowed me to not be so bitter at everyone else who still had their father. So I was no longer bitter. I could process the bitterness. I could deal with the issue and be able to handle it. And I think I cried a lot again in my 20s about my father's death 10 years earlier. But then after that, it got better. Like it really got better after that. And now I can speak about his death all the time and not be emotional alone. Now I can. Much easier for me to do it now. I'm not sure I have the smiles yet still, and it's been 40 years. My mother passed in, about 10 years ago. And I'm much happier about the stories I have about her, the feelings I had about her. Particularly after she got out and I had kids, she was very close to my oldest daughter, Barbara. And the stories and how much she loved Barbara and the times we had together. I'm much more happy about that now. I don't know if I went long again, guys. I apologize. But Patty, you bring up a very valid point, and I wanted to make sure I'd covered that, right? I wanted to make sure I'd cover that. Patty goes on to say, I never remembered my mom's or my little sister's death or birth dates. Trauma does that, I've been told. Yes, that's what it was. That's perfect, Patty. Yes. I could not remember it. It just shut it out. Thank you. Dee says, this has been an amazing episode, Larry. Dee, thank you. Thank you, Dee. I am trying very much, as I always do, to share myself with you because I want you to share yourself with others. Right? I'm very, you guys know me. I'm very much about the idea of I can't point my finger at you until I point it at myself. And I point my finger at you. I do. So I got to point at myself first, right? I can't be like you. I got to be me first, then you, right? So I've got to do that, or I have no right to point my finger at you. So I do it myself first, and I want us all to be this way. I think it's the only way to make things work, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm right. Nate says, a good friend of mine connected with a sister he never met before. They're in their 40s and 50s. She's married with a family. And now they all hang out together, boating, sledding at camp, etc. What an amazing story. Thank you, Nate, for sharing that. That's very good. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Old Ben says, even before it was a Christmas tree, the Druids celebrated Yule. You got this. I love it. Yes. To be forward, guys, I actually don't care at all about what holiday you celebrate. As long as it makes you happy in your world, please celebrate it to the best of your ability, whatever that is. That's what I care about. Yule, good, do that. It's fine, whatever. I also think we should be ashamed or embarrassed for what we do. I say Merry Christmas to people because I celebrate Christmas. If you don't, no worries. You don't have to. You're not required at all. I do. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not proud of that. It's what I do. It's because I've been raised that way. It's what I do. And you should do whatever works for you. That's all I have to say. But here's what you can say. If you live in America, I said Western world in general, this is the holiday season. Whether you choose to participate or not, it is culturally the holiday season. I hope you do all of the holidays. But whatever one works for you. Since it's the holiday season, what that means is culturally, we accept that as true. Again, whether you engage or not, we accept that as true. It is an excuse, a cultural excuse, a social excuse to try to rebuild your relationships. That's why I'm telling you this, because this is a great cultural, social excuse for you, anyone listening, you to pick up that phone, text or call or DM or whatever is the way, email, however, knock on their door, whatever is the way that you communicate with your loved ones. This is the perfect social excuse to go do so. That won't seem so weird. That won't seem so odd. That will make things happen. It does matter. It's why I'm doing this. It's the perfect time. Yes. The Carnival Butterfly goes on. We all process differently. Yep. My father passed at 90. I was 61. I did not cry for the first 3 weeks. It's funny you say that. When I was, it's a similar, but not the same, but a similar story. When my father passed, I had a hobby at the time. As a kid, I used to love the very small toy soldiers. They don't really have them much today, but they did then. My father used to like trains. And I loved he'd make the model trains. You guys remember the HO scale trains he used to have. This is the 70s, and he would build out like a wooden plank and he would literally nail down the tracks, and the trains would go around them. And he'd have a train yard and little houses and stuff. He did the whole thing. Exactly the imagination you would think. He did that. He liked that stuff. I took some of that from him, but I was more artistic than he was, and I liked the military a lot. So instead of doing trains, I did small soldiers. And I put like little dioramas of soldiers and stuff when I was a kid. Like, oh, they're fighting these guys and fighting these. I'd make a house, and I would physically break the house up Like they'd give you a house, I would physically crack it up and cut it up and make it like a bomb hit the house, right? That's what I was doing. So I used to like to paint the soldiers. And I would physically paint each soldier in detail. Like this is the Russian, this is the German, this is the American, right? I would paint the soldiers, this is the Vietnam guy, I'd paint the soldiers. And I literally had like a book with all the colors of the uniforms and such, and I would paint it. It was a hobby that I had when I was a kid. And the morning that my father died, it was a school morning. I do remember that. I didn't go to school. I spent the entire day painting my soldiers the whole day, like hours and hours. I don't remember. I didn't eat, so that whole morning I didn't have lunch. I don't even know if I had dinner. I don't remember, but I know literally I didn't go to the bathroom, just hours on end. It had to be at least 6-8 hours, I'm guessing, maybe more. I don't remember. I just painted all soldiers. Just paint their face, paint their straps on their uniforms, just painted. I didn't cry. I just painted. I cried when I heard that morning, but right after that, I didn't cry at all. The whole day, I just painted. People came into my room. Larry, you okay? Didn't talk back. Just kept painting and they walked away. So yeah, it's a good question. So yes. All right. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate it. So if I can grab anybody else that I might have missed, I'll pop through here if I can. I do like that nobody's perfect thing. That was very good, by the way. Yes. I think that's everything. We're good. All right. And Bracelet goes on. That's why community matters so much. You are correct, Grace. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So Patty says, numb and annoyed, angry for both deaths. My dad was older, less for trauma. Yeah. It's funny. You always hate when people you love pass. But I think as humans, it's less bad when they're older and we're older. Like it's more accepting, if that makes any sense. I mean, again, kind of loses her father at 90. I mean, still bad, right? It doesn't matter. You're still bad. But I think we're more accepting. Well, he's 90. Like we're more accepting of him, though we never want the person to pass. Like his 90 is better than if he was 60, right? I mean, in our minds, we think that. I think it does change, at least culturally, how we think about the loss. If we are older, we're also more mature, right? When someone dies when you're younger, you're less mature. You're 60, you're more mature. So you're better able to handle, usually. You're better able to manage and handle things because you've been through more. So I think yes. I want to move on, if I could, to another piece, which is friendship. I'll tell a story if I could. I had a friend named Charlie. I worked with him. Loved him as a friend. And one day we're all working together, right? And we're at a meeting. In the meeting, things didn't go well for him. And I thought it was kind of funny. It's kind of funny. So people were like teasing him. And I thought it was in fun and in jest. And I joined in, ha, 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 teasing, funny. After the meeting, I thought nothing of it because I thought it was just funny and teasing. He stopped talking to me. I didn't know why. I'm like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? What happened? And he ignored me for like a day or two. He ignored me. I'm like, wow. I initially thought it was something else because I couldn't imagine that it was something that I did. I did not believe it was something I did. I thought, oh, he must be having some problems at home, or he had a couple daughters. Maybe daughter is a problem. Must be some problem, right? That's what it must be. It's some problem that he's having at home or something. I didn't think it was me. Then he tells me. He's like, you were in there insulting me, just like all the rest of them, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. No, that's not, I was joking. That's not what it was happening. And I was very defensive. It's like, no, that's not, what are you talking about? It wasn't me. It was very defensive. No, not me. What are you talking about? Very defensive. And he was mad at me too. And we kind of walked away a little bit upset. And I was like, what a jerk. As I was thinking, what a jerk. Why is he, that's not who I am. It's not what I was doing. But then when I went back to talk again, he was still pissed, really angry. And there was a part of me, and I'm just being forward as I always am, that was like, to hell with that guy. He can't take it, joke, whatever. There was a part of me that thought that. But my friendship with him was too valuable. That's what I thought. Too valuable. And I wish it was that I was so savvy, and it wasn't. I just didn't lose him as a friend. It was almost selfish in a way, if that makes any sense, right? I wish that I had been more enlightened, perhaps, is the answer, or the word I'm looking for, but it wasn't. I just didn't lose him as a friend. And so I went and told him I was sorry. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear it. He was so hurt and so bothered by what had happened because in his mind, and as I thought about it later, it made total sense, right? But then I did not see it. Naivete, whatever, insert reason why I didn't see it. Everyone was attacking him. He wanted me to get on his side and defend him. And I should have. And I didn't. And I couldn't go back and change it, right? Like I couldn't go back and say, wait, that was not going to happen anymore. At that time, when they were all attacking him, what I should have done is got behind him and defended him. And I didn't. I jumped on board everyone else teasing him. And he felt betrayed by me. And he was right. He was right. I was a jerk. I should have stood by him, and I didn't. I betrayed him. And I felt terrible about it. After, right? Not then. Then I was righteous. At that point, I was righteous. I was like, what's wrong with you? Kidding, a joke? That's how I was. Then he told me what he felt. He gave me truth. My point, Patty, he gave me truth. I didn't like his truth at all. I didn't initially respond to it, except by what a baby. That's how I responded. What's wrong with you? To his truth. But I went home. Or late, I forgot, to my office, wherever I was. So I was thinking about it. I was like, man, this guy's right. His truth is what made me think and shook me to realize how I betrayed him. My fault. So I said, all right. I went back to him. I think it might have been the same day. I don't remember. This is over 20 years ago. So it was same day or day after. It was soon. I don't remember when it was. And I said, you know, Charlie, you're right. I'm sorry. He didn't want to hear it. Did not want to hear it. Didn't care. Like, yeah, good. Be sorry. Bye. Didn't care. Didn't want to hear it. And so I said, and I don't care if you forgive me. So I'm trying to make things right. And I think that our relationship is too strong, that we'll get over this. That's what I told him. And I said it in front of others, by the way. There were other people, and this was in an office. So other people heard me say this, right? I didn't care. I said it publicly. And sometimes saying things publicly really matters. Why? Because when you say something publicly, people believe it more. Which is why I so often do everything I do live and publicly. So you believe me more. No notes, I just talk. I want you to believe that even when I'm wrong and you think I'm wrong, you go, yeah, but he believes it. Okay, let me see if I can change this guy's mind. You think at least, I hope you think that I'm still talking or arguing in good faith. I hope you believe that. I mean, you may not, but I hope you do. So I said it publicly. I mean, people publicly, but there were people in the cubes, and I think he had an office. There were cubes, if I'm not mistaken, desks and cubes. It was an IT place. And I said, look, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You don't have to forgive me. You don't have to, but I'm going to try to make this right. I think that our relationship is strong enough and valuable enough that we'll get past this. Over time, probably a couple of weeks, I still came by. I said hi. Next meetings, I was super supportive. Like super, I was like, right? I got you. I was shield man right there. I was shield man in all the meetings. I did what I had to do. And our relationship became stronger than ever. We rebounded and it was stronger than ever. And I'm not saying that you have to have mistakes or errors in your relationships to be friends. But I think you can. And sometimes you can be even stronger because once you repair an error, very often the friend will now begin to give you the benefit of the doubt. When in the beginning they wouldn't. If you can get past it. And to be forward, I had to get past my pride, which wasn't easy. I was at 20 or 30, right? So 20s or 30, something like that in that area. Late 20s, early 30s maybe. So you know what? I got pride. I had to swallow it. Did I want him as a friend? I did. Look, swallow that pride. Keep moving forward. You got to sometimes. And it sucks. Nobody wants to. I didn't want to. I had to if that's what I wanted. I had to do it. I swallowed it. And when he basically blew me off, I didn't go, oh, that's how you are? Then that's it. The hell with you. I went, no. I deserve that. Right? I said, I deserve that. I took responsibility for the relationship. I took responsibility. Taking blame is one thing, and I'm going to be clear on this. What I did there is I didn't ask for forgiveness. I'm going to give you guys I'm going to give you a very powerful tool that if you feel comfortable enough, you can use. And that is saying you're sorry without asking for forgiveness. Asking for forgiveness is selfish. Yeah, I'll say it. It's selfish. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I told him, I said, if you don't forgive me, I'm going to try anyway. You don't have to forgive me. Doesn't matter. I'm going to fix this anyway. I'm taking responsibility for fixing this thing. And if at any point you want to forgive me, you can. You don't have to. I'm still doing it. You may go, that sounds selfish, Larry. No, that's not selfish. The selfish thing is begging for forgiveness. Because if he forgives me, now I'm okay and the onus is on him. And in fact, if I ask for forgiveness and he doesn't give it, the onus is still on him. Like, wow, you don't forgive the guy. He's asking for it. He's saying he's sorry. Why don't you forgive him? In fact, for some people, and you've seen this and you've been it, saying I'm sorry really means shut up. I'll say it again so you can hear this. Sometimes saying I'm sorry really means shut up. You just sound sorry means shut up. Then you just okay, I'm sorry. It means shut up. Versus going, oh my God, I did that? You know what? I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. The tool you want to use is almost never, lead with I'm sorry. I'm not saying you shouldn't say you're sorry. You should if you are sorry, right? You should only say you're sorry when you are sorry, right? Whenever that is. I hope if you make mistakes, you're sorry, right? You're sorry. But don't lead with it. Think about the difference. I'll go back to our Patty, my cousin story. So we'll keep it the same way, right? Me and Patty are cousins now. So Patty tells me what a jerk I was when we were kids. And she's right. I was a jerk when we were kids. And I go, sorry, Patty. Wow, good. You just grew up. That means shut up. Or it could go, Patty, I did that. You're right, I did. So I'm going to start with acknowledging. I'm not saying sorry yet. I'm acknowledging. Wow. Now that you say that, I remember. I did that. Yeah. After I acknowledge, I'm going to take responsibility. Then I'm going to say I'm sorry. Acknowledge, responsibility, sorry. I did do that. Responsibility. You know what? I shouldn't. I was a stupid kid doing stupid stuff. I thought it was cool and funny. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Now Patty goes, maybe. If the wound that Patty has taken over time is deep, it doesn't fix it, but it opens her mind to being fixed. She's like, okay, maybe it's real. I just went, sorry. She's like, he's not sorry. That guy's a jerk. She doesn't believe me at all. If I do that, at least she's open now. Okay, let me watch this guy to see if he's real. Or if the wound is not very deep, it's actually fixed, right? If the wound is not deep, just in those three, we'll very often go right over it. It's done. Fine. Seriously, if the wound is not deep. If the wound is deep, it does open it up to being fixed. That's a critical piece. So you want to do that. That's what I did with my friend Charlie. I acknowledged. I said then I said I was sorry. Took responsibility. Said I was sorry, and then I tried to fix it. I did the things. So I talked the talk. Now I got to walk the walk. Right? I talked the talk, and then I got to walk the walk. Right? Those two things are important. That's the issue. If I then walk the walk, now Patty goes, okay, he said it. Well, now I see him doing it. Okay. All right. He's real. He's real. And very often, this is the hardest part. Again, assuming this wound is deep, when I do the right thing, Patty will actually push me and punish me in an attempt to throw me off the track, to go back to the old ways she expected. So when I'm nice to her and good to her during our family meeting, she goes, oh, yeah, why Larry the loser trying blah, 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 blah. She's going to attack me. Now, do I just attack back? Yeah, well, but then she's like, see, I knew who you were. I knew who you were the whole time, Larry. It's all a lie. It's going to happen. Or do I swallow my pride again? And man, is that hard. But if I love my cousin Patty and I want her in my world, maybe I got to swallow my pride a bit and go, you got me on that one, Patty. Okay. And I don't fight back. This, by the way, is called surrendering as a tactic. This is a thing people do. So I surrender. People who know me know sometimes I will physically put my hands in the air just like this. I surrender. You win. I will physically do this. I surrender. You win. Yes. Okay. What does that do? It says I'm not going to fight back. I'm not going to fight back. You are going to have to beat me up on your own. Just beat me up then. I'm not going to give you a reason to beat me up. You got to find a reason to beat me up. And very often, if Patty sees me, that she can just punch if she wants to, and I'm just going to take it, she'll go, I don't want to punch. Larry's not going to fight back? I don't want to punch him. Because she is my cousin. And she'd like to have a good relationship with her cousin. She'd prefer that if she could have it. She'd prefer it. So if I actually give her some trust back and go, you know what? Punch if you want to. I'm not going to punch back. Punch. I'm not going to strike back. I'm not going to defend myself. Patty might go, you know what? All right. I won't punch this time. I'm going to stop. And she'll back off. The next time we meet, same thing. And before you know it, we have a relationship. We're back to being cousins that we should have been years ago. And we fixed it, and we could do that. The same thing can happen with friends. And we fixed it. Sadly, he passed away a couple years later, which sucked. He passed away in the 90s, which sucked. No, not the 90s, sorry. He passed away in the 2006, 7, in that area. About 10 years later or so, he passed. I think 7, maybe in that area. I don't remember exactly the date. It's somewhere in that area he passed, and that was very hard. Move to the next piece though, which is linked to that, and that is when your friend has loss. I know we all always do the thoughts and prayers. I know we always do the, if I can do anything, tell me. It's a common thing. Here's what I want you to think of. I want you to follow Grace's example here as she talked about friends giving them food, right? That comes from the idea of when things go bad, people would give people food. Why would you give people food when things are bad? Well, because you can't go out, right? You can't go out to get the food because you're having a problem. You can't get the food, whatever. It's a good thing. It helps. When my friend passed, his wife called. Tell me that he passed. Obviously, I was devastated. She's like, yeah, I'm making the calls. I didn't say, if there's anything you can do, tell me, or thoughts and prayers. I said, let me make the calls. That's what I did. She said, what? I said, let me make the calls. You don't have to go through the story 1,000 times. You have to relive this 1,000 times. Let me do it. She told me what happened. I said, I'll take care of it. We had many friends in common. He's my friend, so I knew many of the people that he knew, right? Because we were friends, so I knew many of the people. I said, I'll take all these people. So literally, it was, I don't know, 2 dozen. I don't remember what the number was. It was maybe it wasn't like 100. It's probably like 20, maybe. I don't remember. Whatever the number was. I forgot what it was, but it was a number of people, probably around 20 or so. I called him and I told him that he had passed. I did the work for her. What does that mean? When your friends are in trouble, when there's an issue, if you can physically do something for them, I cannot tell you how important that is to them. Whatever it might be, it doesn't matter how small, and I'm very serious, it doesn't matter how small it is. Your friend, their mom passes, their dad passes, their something passes. Can you send them something in the mail? Do it. Can you pick up something for them? Do it. Can you do the laundry? Can you wash their car? Is there something you could do? Do it. Right? If there's something you could do, right? Is there something? Can you cook for them? Do it. To Grace's point, can you bring them some food? Do it. Right? What can you do to make their life a little bit easier? Because here's the reality: when you have loss, it's never good. But can it be less bad? Yes. It can be less bad. And if you're a friend and you care about somebody, try your best to make it less bad. Little thing. Can you send them some cash? If that's important for them. I mean, the person may be wealthy, may not care. But say the person's in trouble. Say they lost a breadwinner. Send them some cash. Don't ask questions. Here's some cash. Take some. Just take it. Don't, no thank you, nothing. Don't, just give it. There it is. Take it. It's yours. I'm leaving. It's yours. Take it. If you can afford, obviously. I mean, maybe you can't. But let's say you're in a better financial situation than they are in that case. Throw them some cash. You can do that. Help them with something else. Physically take their kid to school in the morning. Stop by, pick up the kid, take them to school in the morning. pick them up from school, whatever, right? Whatever you are able to do to make their life a little bit easier, that is far better than thoughts and prayers. I'm not against thoughts and prayers. It's good that people know you care, that there's value in that. Please, of course there is. But if you can physically do something, please physically do something if you can. Literally, if you can do something, it doesn't matter how small it is. Hey, man, I grabbed your mail and I brought your mail in. That's good because there's two things that does. One, it's one thing. And when you've had loss, little things that you do, and you know this, you've been through it, or you watch people, everything becomes a hassle in your mind. Tasks are magnified that make, like going shopping wasn't a thing until now you've lost your husband, your wife, your spouse, your friend, your mom, your dad. All of a sudden going to the store shopping seems like I'm building a space shuttle. It just seems like it's so massive all of a sudden. It does. It's who we are. But to you, because you haven't had that loss, your loss was last month, last year, you can go shopping. No big deal for you. So go shopping. Larry, I have the cash. Get the cash from them if they got money. Maybe your friend is more wealthy than you are. It's great. Say, hey, give me a couple $100. I'll go shopping for you. You will? Yeah. You want a couple $100? I'll go shopping. Well, I'm gonna be great. It's like too much for me. Yeah, here's a couple $100. Go shopping. I don't know what it is now. Inflation. Might need $400. Go shopping now. Whatever the amount is, right? Whatever. Or if you've got the cash and they don't, then you pay it. If you've got the cash. Again, the financial dynamics are what they are, but you doing the physical work is the issue. If you can do any, if you're in that spot, do so. Larry, I don't live next to him. Larry, I'm disabled. Larry, I don't have the time. I got my own stuff. I got you. If that's the situation where you can't do that stuff, can you set it up so someone else can? Can you? Maybe you can't. Can you call your buddy who's nearby? Hey, I can't do it. Can you do me a favor? This is my friend Jane. Can you grab her car and wash it for me? I got you. I'll take care of you later. Okay, great. Some guy goes and washes the car for her. You take care of it later. Still works. Whatever. Maybe a guy owes you a favor. Does not say, hey, you owe me a favor. Remember the time I took care of your sister? Go wash this guy's car. We'll call it even. Done. All of these things can work, but the physical piece matters. Say you can't. None of that's possible for you. There is value in knowing that somebody cares. And this is where friends can come in like other people can't, because they're outside of the family, they're outside of romance. Whenever your world is ending from whatever your problem is, you want the world to stop. I know I did. My daughter was dying. My mom was dying. My business was collapsing in 2010. I wanted the entire world to stop and look at me and go, oh, Larry's having trouble. Let the world stop and let's focus on Larry. Sadly, the world did not stop. It never does. It keeps going, even through all your pain. But we want it to stop. We want everyone to stop because I'm having pain. We all want it. It's human nature. So when some friend who is not in your world, who is not your family, who is not your romantic partner, calls up and stops their world for even 5 minutes and says, hey, you all right? Go ahead and vent to me. Get mad at me. Do it. Tell me how unfair life is. Do it. And you just sit there and listen. And they tell you how unfair life is. Life is unfair. But we often don't think of it until we're taking loss. So I'm taking loss and I'm pissed off. And I'm going to call up Patty and I'm going to tell her how mad I am. Not at her, at the world. Unfair. Everything happened. Is Patty going to listen to me? I hope she does. If she does, yeah, Larry, you're right. It's unfair. Oh my God, yeah. It's terrible. Yeah, it's unfair. Bad. I'm going to feel like Patty's world stopped for me, and I want the world to stop. And you know what? For Patty, it did. She stopped her world for 5 minutes so I can complain about the world. She stopped. She goes, oh, I'm going to stop my life. Larry, yell at me for 5 minutes. Tell me how bad the world is. And I'm going to nod my head and go, yep, you're right. Terrible. 100%. You're right. And now the world did stop for me for 5 minutes thanks to Patty. Did it make my problems go away? No. Bring back my family member? No. Did it make things less bad? Yes, it did. Absolutely. It made it less bad. It's exactly what it did. And it matters. Imagine if you have many friends who can call you and go, hey, go tell me stuff. Now, if you're that friend who's hearing it, here's what I want you to do. I want you to not do what culture tells you to do and what your own selfishness tells you to do, which is try to cheer the person up. Please don't do that. Don't cheer them up. You will only make things worse. I'm not joking. I'm very serious. I'm very serious. If I call Patty and I tell her the world's ending, someone my family member passed away and I can't stand it. She goes, Larry, it's okay. He was older. Oh, you said it's fine. Don't worry. Things will be okay. What do I start feeling? That now my feelings are invalid. By Patty trying to make me feel better, she's actually invalidated my feelings, and now I feel worse because I feel like, oh, should I not be? Am I being selfish by being angry? Am I the bad guy for hurting? What's going on? Now, if I love Patty and she's my friend, I respect what she says. If she tells me I'm wrong to be unhappy, I start feeling, oh my God, I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. No, you actually want to validate your feelings. Tell them, yeah, I get it. You're hurting. It sucks. Life's unfair. I don't want to lose my person. You're right. Life's unfair. Larry, you should feel the way you feel. Yeah, I'd feel the same way if I was you. Yeah. You're not revving me up. You're actually validating me, making me feel better. Because then I feel like, oh, I am supposed to feel this bad. I am supposed to feel pain. I am supposed to feel loss. Yes, because you're human, and when we have loss, we feel pain, and we get angry, and we get vindictive, and we get bitter. Yes, because everyone does. And if Patty does that for me, she has just stopped the world for me for just 5 minutes. And it makes things less bad. So I would ask you, if somebody does it for you, calls you up, tells you how the world's ending, don't try to make them feel better. Don't. Just listen. Listen. And validate what you can validate. And join in what you can join in. This is the point of sharing the pain with them. If you share the pain, you will lessen the pain. You will lessen the pain if you share it with them. And if more of that person's friends call and share the pain, it will be less bad. The pain does not go away. This is not magic. It doesn't go away, but it gets better. That is the true value of community. As Grace said, it's the value of friendship. They have all those things. You share the pain, it goes away. You will never hear me ever invalidate somebody's painful feelings. Never. How can I? I'm not that person. I don't know what she went through. I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe the feelings that, Jane Doe is having are bogus feelings. Maybe. But how would I know? I'm not there. I'm not there. I don't walk in her shoes. I have no idea whether she's full of crap or not. She might be. It's possible. Who knows? But if I'm her friend and I love her, as a friend, I want to support her anyway. So either way, it works. Let me grab some comments here. I know I'm going long, but it's my way. I'm sorry. Logic says, learning from mistakes is a good indicator of growth. Oh my God, yes. From your mistakes and others. Yes, both. There are plenty of people that hold onto grudges, and the only thing that accomplishes is walking around with a heavy heart. Yes, you are totally right. I always say, to be happy, you have to forgive people if you want to be happy. Because if you don't forgive people, particularly in a case where someone has wronged you and believes they are righteous in their wronging of you, right? So if I think I got you, and you deserved it because you're a bad person, so I'm glad I got you. If you don't forgive me, the only person hurting is you. I think I was righteous in what I did to you. You deserve whatever I did. So I'm sleeping fine with whatever I did to you. But if you're not forgiving me, you're the one not sleeping. I'm still good. Now, the old idea is forgive and forget. I'm not forgive and forget. I'm forgive, don't forget. Because that's the learning from your mistake. Right? That's the learning from your mistake. Forgive, yes. That's to keep your own sanity. Right? Forget? No, that's dumb. Don't forget. Right? Please remember. But forgive. Two different things. So yes, I agree. One thing I often tell people about, and this is going to go from business, but it'll come to life. There's a story, and I had a similar situation. Guy, one of the people I'm working with, one of his employees makes a massive mistake. whatever. I'm going to make the number up, whatever it is. This is a common story, and it actually happened to me too. I'm going to make the number up, $20,000. He made a $20,000 mistake that the company lost $20,000. So he's like, yeah, I got to fire this guy. I'm like, why? He made a $20,000 mistake. I said, oh, did he learn from it? Well, I guess we won't be doing that again, but I got to fire him. I said, why? He made a $20,000 mistake. I said, so you just spent $20,000 to train a guy for somebody else's company. He said, what? Yeah, you just spent $20,000 to train some guy who won't make that mistake again to go to somebody else's company. I said, or you can look at it as a $20,000 training for him and tell him you just invested $20,000 into his training. He's like, oh, huh. Yeah, that's a better way of looking at it. Assuming you have a good employee otherwise, which in this case you did. Just one guy made a mistake. He was generally a good employee. So he's not a guy who's made a lot of errors, right? So the case matters also, right? In this case, he was a good employee who just made a mistake. So I said, so tell him, I'm not firing you. I just spent $20,000 to train you. You owe me. Get back to work. Do that and watch how loyal he'll be. And it was true. He was loyal. It's absolutely true. That's the way of thinking of things. But I would add that to almost any mistake in your life, right? You pay a price for mistakes, sometimes in dollars, sometimes in emotion, sometimes in blood. It depends on what you pay, right? But you pay for a mistake, whatever it is. I would say in your mind, you should think about that as that was the cost of your lesson, whatever that was. So I trusted some guy, I said, yeah, some guys, yeah, I'm gonna make you $1 million. Just give me $2,000 and I'll make you $1 million. And I go, great, I love you. It's $2,000. The guy walks off my money. I can say, man, I got ripped off, which is true. Or I can go, that's a $2,000 mistake. That's a $2,000 lesson now. I'll never do that again. Those people who know me well, I have a very common saying I use, which is, that will happen exactly one time. I say that all the time. That will happen exactly one time. What that means is I've learned from my mistake. Yep, that happened. And that will happen exactly one time. It will never happen again. So yes, Logic, I think it's important to think about that. You do want to forgive. You don't want to forget. You want to look at your mistakes as lessons. Not always easy when you're having pain and when it's a big mistake. Not easy. But I would argue the only way of moving forward. That's what I would say. The only way of moving forward. She goes on to say, is it wrong to lie to someone about giving them forgiveness? Like my ex asked me for forgiveness recently. I said I did, but still working way through that. Guess I have to eat my own words in a way. As a general rule, you don't want to lie about forgiveness to someone who you want in your life. And that may sound contradictory. If you're trying to get rid of your ex and have them just leave you alone and you don't want to be around them anymore, lying is fine. They're not in your life. You want to get rid of them so they stop bugging you. Fine, I forgive you. We're good. And they walk away because it's eating them. They are bothered. They're asking for forgiveness because, as I said, asking for forgiveness is selfish. So that person wants forgiveness. So they're coming to you. Can you forgive me? It's bothering them. If you want them out of your life, lie. Totally forgive you. You are good. Don't worry about it. They leave. Life is good. You don't want them in your life. If you want them in your life, I'll go back to what I said before. Truth. When that doesn't work, more truth. When it doesn't work, more truth. If you want your ex in your life, and not everybody does, and please, you do what is going to be right for you. Some people being ex in life is awesome. Some people terrible. If you don't want that person in your life, forgive them, let them go. Who cares? Let them go. If you want them in your life, be honest. Give them truth. Say, you know what? I'm making this up. I know your relationship with this person. Sake of argument. I loved you. And I'm hurt by what happened. I don't love you anymore. But I'm still hurt. So can I forgive you yet? I can't yet. It's not there. We've got to do some more work before I can forgive you. Because in this case I've made up, that's the truth. Tell me the truth. If that person's like, well, you should forgive me, blah, 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 then you don't want that person in your life. They're just selfish. Okay, good, let them go. So you know what? I do forgive you. Get out of my house. Done. Good. If they go, you know what? I get it. You're right. We had issues. Things went wrong. I don't want to end this way. I want to fix things. Let's work on it. Now you can keep that person in your life. So what I would say is if you don't want the person in your life, forgive them, let them go. If you think having your ex in your life is a good idea, tell them the truth. Tell them what you need to move on. And if that person's like, well, that's too much for me, fine. Then they don't need to be in your life then. You know what? I'm in. I'll do it. Okay. Let's walk down that road. That would be my advice in that case. I think lying is fine if you don't care about the person. But if you care about them, I think you shouldn't. Patty says, FYI, Larry, I love you using my name, but most people love me. All my life, my friends and my children, friends have become family. My house has always been open to all, especially during all holidays. Patty, I'm not surprised at that one single bit. I am not surprised at all. Yes, absolutely. Patty says, not only that you can't go out, but you have no energy. Yes, thank you. Yes, no energy, no will. You just don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it. Yes, absolutely. That is the numb. Food also always brings people together. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And many times when people are in pain, they say they don't want people around. That's not always true. There are 3 reasons why people often tell you they don't want people around when they actually do. Number 1 is they don't want to show their weakness. They don't want to show how much they're hurting. It's embarrassing. It's their own pride. And their pride is so strong, and this is humans, that even in, like, if your mother or father passes, or son or brother or sister passes, of course you're going to be hurt. What human wouldn't be hurt? What human wouldn't be broken at one point and cry? Of course. People you love, of course. But you don't want to show that. So you don't want people around. Not because you don't want people around, you don't want to show your pain. Second reason, they don't want to be a burden. They don't want to be a burden, right? That's the issue. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want you to, don't wait on me, don't do this, because they weren't a burden before and now they're a burden. It's not feeling like they're a burden, right? Now, the first part, everybody feels that way. But the second part, the burden part, if it's you, meaning you're the one who's thinking that, like, I don't want to bring people over. I'm just going to be a downer. I'm just a burden. I can't do anything. To Patty's point, I don't have the will to cook. It's fine. I don't have to eat. I don't want to. Realize something. Your burden is someone else's purpose. There are lots of people who just can't wait to help. There are people who love you, who want to help you. They want to help you. This is not a burden for them. This is a chance to help. This is a purpose for them. There are people who are themselves hurting, who would love to stop thinking about their pain and focus on helping somebody else as a way to process their own pain. That is a common thing. So when you think you're a burden, you're probably somebody else's salvation. So don't think you're a burden. If you're really a burden, that person's not going to come over. If I really think you're a burden, I'm not showing up. You're a burden. I don't like you. I don't care about you. You're not part of my world. I'm going to go someplace else. I don't mean to be cruel, but if that's how I feel, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to call you up. I'm not going to come to your place. I'm not going to care about you if I don't care about you. I'm going to blow you off because I don't care about you, right? I mean, this is humans, not just me. It's you too. If you don't care, you go, whatever. But if I care about you, I want to help because I care about you. So if you're that person feeling you're a burden, realize you are not a burden. You are instead someone's purpose, or maybe even someone's salvation. So don't be selfish and let them help you. They want to help you. Number 3, I don't want to lash out at people because I'm angry. I don't want to lash out because I'm angry. So I'm going to stay quiet by myself. Very often men do this. Women too, but more men than women do this. Just I'm staying in my hole and just sit there and be angry. I don't want to lash because if people are, I'm going to get angry. I'm going to be bitter. I'm going to lash out at people. It's true. So I'm asking you, if you are that person, if you begin to lash out, something very important, I want you to preface it. I'm serious. If you know who you are and you're someone who, when you get angry or upset or mad, or many of us turn sadness into anger because it's easier to manage the anger than depression, right? You know people that way. Maybe you are. You know people that way. When they're sad, they turn that sad into mad because they can manage it better. It's stronger and better to be angry than it is to be sad and depressed. They turn into that. If you know you're that person, and you might be that person, tell people that. I mean it. Say, guys, coming over. I'd love to have you. Just understand, I'm in a bad place. I'm in a bad place. And tell them, I'm in a bad place right now. Come over. I'm in a bad place. I'm triggered by everything. I hate the fact that my loved one died. I'm mad at the world. And I'm going to be yelling and screaming and crying. Come over. But understand that. And tell them that. Imagine if I told you that. I said, Nate, man, I'm broken, brother. I'm mad. I'm mad at the world. Come over. But no, I'm pissed off. And I'm going to be yelling at everybody. Now Nate can handle it. He knows that when I go off, he's like, that's why he's going off. Okay, I got it. He's not mad at me. He's just mad. Okay. Now Nate can now handle it. He can now manage me. He can go, I got you, brother. I got you. Right? I'm with you. He's not mad at me because he knows I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at the world. I'm not joking. Tell people that. They will manage it better. They will deal with it internally better, and they will calm you better. And you saying it, you'll deal with it better. Everybody will be better if you come out with that and say it. And you know if you're that person. You know you are. The person there is that way. Tell everyone around who he is or who she is. I say it often. My mother told me this and she was always right. She said, people who are dying are very often bitter and angry. And I tell my friends who have people who are dying around them, I tell them that. So look, my mom told me this and she's right. So when that mom or dad or cousin or uncle or grandma starts yelling and screaming at you, they're not really yelling and screaming at you. They're yelling and screaming at the world. And you're there. You're the only one there. Everyone else walked away. You're there. They're mad. You're in the way. And it makes you handle it better. Remember those three things. People who are hurting want you there. Let me say it again so this sticks. People who are hurting want you there. They will say they don't. They are lying or they're ignorant. Either one. They're lying or they're ignorant. They do want you there. The issue is, can you handle it? Can they handle it? Truth doesn't work. More truth. That doesn't work. More truth. So, all right. Nate says, you're right. I did that. I was wrong to do that. I'm sorry I did. I don't blame myself if you don't forgive me. I hope you can earn your trust and respect again. Oh, wow. There we go. Yes. Yes, Nate. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. All right. Let's see here. Old Ben says, learning about a person's true character for a mere $2,000 is cheap. Ooh. Ben, very nice. I love how you think. That is so good. Yes. I know that person. Now I've learned my lesson. Yes. That's all it cost. Absolutely. Grace was going to say the best revenge is to happy. Oh, to remain happy, to be happy, and to let someone go. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. When I was critically ill, when my parents passed, I found out who my friends were. Yes. And even when I was too tired to talk and still had people around me, I needed the stability and the normality. This is a very valid point that you bring up, Grace, right? It always sucks when things go bad. It does. There's a silver lining, which is you find out who cares. You find out who really cares. And when somebody will stop and care, man, does that matter. It does make things better. To know that there was somebody there, right, Grace? Somebody was there. Somebody was there. Awesome. Somebody was there. Yes. Dave was going to say, Larry, people should forgive others, even if they don't want to. My mom went through a bitter divorce and didn't forgive my dad until 10 years after his death. This is something else too, right? Yeah. Dave, thank you for bringing this up. It reminds me of the movie Excalibur from the 80s, 80, 81, something like that in that area. For those who know the movie, it's a movie based upon the King Arthur legend, the sword, and the Knights of the Round Table, all that stuff. There are some very interesting parts in the movie. For those of you who watch the movie, you'll remember these pieces. I'll cover it briefly for those who haven't. In the movie, the knight Sir Lancelot, who maybe you've heard of, he basically cheats on he cheats with the Queen Guinevere, King Arthur's wife. He cheats on her and he feels guilty. He feels horribly guilty to the point where he has a horrible dream. And in the dream, he stabs himself with his sword, right? In the dream. And the wound tears him to pieces. When King Arthur finds out of the betrayal, he's broken, the whole kingdom's broken, and for like 20 years, and that's going to try to fix things. They can't fix things, all because of this horrible thing that happened, right? So it's based upon that concept. By the end of the movie, I don't want to give the whole movie away in case you want anybody to watch it, but there's a battle scene, I will say. At the end of the battles in the end of the movie, Lancelot is mortally wounded. So he comes back. He has abandoned the knights and the king for literally 20 years. At the end, in the big fight, Lancelot comes back in the big fight to battle and fight and try to save the day, right? It's a movie, right? So he comes back to save the day. And in the battle to save the day, he is critical in saving the day. He's mortally wounded. So he's laying on the ground dying. The king comes to him. And Lancelot begins to ask what's happening. He says, it's the old wound. So the wound that he had cut himself 20 years ago never healed. Obviously, it's, because his guilt never went away. The wound never healed. And that wound during the battle is what opened up to kill him. He wasn't mortally wounded by the swords and the fighting. He was mortally wounded by the wound that had happened 20 years ago that had reopened during the battle, right? So that's the concept. So he's so horrible and worried about being forgiven that he lays on the battle, died. And the first thing he's asked, he knows he's dying. He says to the king, I'm sorry. And is the queen okay and everything? And to your point, Dave, the king lies to him. He goes, yes, everything is wonderful. I'm the king again. And the queen is perfect. None of this is true. You are the greatest knight ever. You have saved us. You've done everything. He lies to him. He lies directly to Lancelot. Why? To your point, Dave, Lancelot was dying. He wanted forgiveness. He wanted to do whatever. He was prepared to die, right? Which he did in the movie. He dies. He was prepared to die for redemption, died to gain forgiveness. So the king, who was his friend, they were friends until he cheated on him. They were friends, tight friends. They fought in battle together. They were friends. At the end of the movie, he lies to him. Yes, everything's awesome. Yes, Lancelot, you saved the day. Yes, everything you've done is good. You're redeemed. And Lancelot dies. So your point's a valid one. Dave goes on to say, forgiveness and reconciliation is important. And I think it's true, to include redemption. All of them are important. So I guess I'll go back a little bit, one more piece, because I know that Logic she just asked about, should I lie about forgiveness? Maybe in this case too, right? Maybe in this case too, you should just do that. Remember my mother, she was often guilty about what had happened in her life. And before I go back to my mother, I'm going to ask something. It's completely off topic, but I want to make sure I don't forget it. Guys, some of you are saying you're enjoying this show very much. If you are, and as I asked you before, if you're watching on Twitter, please retweet as I asked you. But if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you are subscribing to the show. It does matter. Subscribe to the YouTube, Sharpe Way YouTube Facebook page. Please make sure you're subscribed to that page. If you're watching on Twitter and you want to head on over to YouTube real fast, watching on Facebook, head on over to YouTube real fast, please subscribe to the Sharpe Way YouTube, not the Larry Sharpe YouTube page, because I'm trying to get out of being shadow banned. So help me out with that and go to specifically the Sharpe Way YouTube page. Click the subscribe, and of course, also click the button so you get notifications. Right? It is important. As I grow this, I have to start getting towards the Sharpe Way side to get around shadow banning. As we know now from what's happening on Twitter, shadow banning is real. So to get around it, please go do that if you would. It would help tremendously. And I do ask you constantly, and I will ask one more time, please support my sponsor, the world's smallest political quiz. Head over to theadvocates.org. Click that link there if you want in the description. Take that quiz. It's 2 minutes. Take it and share it. What does it do during the holiday season? Well, you'll be meeting people, aren't you? Meeting your family, having those conversations. The world's smallest political quiz allows you to have more and more conversations. There's also a bunch, if you want to, there is a bunch of surveys there you can take. Please take a survey. Take any of them. They're free. They're all free. No, not $1. You can spend your dollar on, as Grace says, getting the adults' food in your life. You do that. It's awesome. Don't spend it on me. Spend it on them. Just as good. So instead, just take the world's smallest political quiz and share your results, or take one of their special surveys. There's many of them there. There's one on political correctness, policing, foreign policy, monetary policy, all types. Take them, and then share them. Right? Do that. It makes my sponsors happy. It's free. Please do so. It does matter. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Grab a couple more comments if I could. Sorry, before that, I was thinking about something else. Let me head over to my mom. Later in life, my mom was very still upset about the errors that she had made in her life. And she would sometimes just randomly say she was sorry to me. And I would always just go back to her and go, Mom, you don't have to say sorry to me anymore. If you want to, go ahead. I said, if you want my forgiveness, you have it. And you've had it for years. You may keep telling you I will. It's not required. I said, I want you to understand something. The demons you're fighting, they're your demons. They're not mine. And I told her it a couple of times, and eventually she kind of got it. She cried a bit when I would say it. She'd give me a hug, and she finally just said, thank you, you're right. And then she stopped asking for my forgiveness. She realized that she was asking me to quell the demons in her head. I couldn't. She had to accept it, right? And some of us have demons. And if you have them, if you've seen people, they have them in their head, and they haven't quelled them. And they're asking someone else to go out there and quell those demons. And I couldn't, right? You're asking me to do something that I can't do. I can't do that. And I love my mother. I loved her. And of course, I wanted her to deal with her demons. But I told her that. I was very forward. Again, I go back to it. Truth, more truth. And I said, I forgive you. You are completely forgiven. If you need it from me, done. You have it. We're good. We are good. I used to use the word all the time. Are we square? And I would say, we're square. Ma, you and I, we're square. No issues. We are square. The demons you're fighting, they're your demons. They're not mine. I can't quell them for you. We're good. You have to quell your own demons. They're only in your head. And I would say, if you quell them, there's no more. You're the only person who has them now. No one else around you does. And that was important because I think in her mind, she thought that everyone around her was still thinking, she got those crazy demons. No one else was thinking that anymore. It'd been years. it'd been years. And no one was thinking that anymore. In fact, I would argue that probably most of the friends that she had didn't even know her from those days. Like they had no frame of reference to even think she had demons, right? None. I mean, some people in her world were still from that time, but they didn't care anymore. They were done. Most of the people also known her before she had fallen, which is helpful, right? Knowing someone before they've fallen and then seeing them fall and then seeing them get back up, right? That whole timeline is better. When someone only saw you when you fell, that's the only frame of reference. And it's harder for that person to believe you made the next step, which is why people who are still down don't believe you ever got up because they've only seen you when you were down. If they saw you before, then down, then back up, they're like, oh, that was the weird thing, right? The down part was the weird thing. The up part's not weird. That's normal. The down part was weird. And I think that's where she was at that point. So a little bit off topic, but I wanted to bring that piece up. I want to move to romance if I could. An important part of the holiday season. 2 parts. Keeping a romantic relationship and getting a new one. The holiday season is the perfect time to make change here too. Perfect time to make change here. We'll talk more about keeping romantic relationships. And to be forward, I haven't always practiced what I preached in this. So I'm not sitting here like, I had the perfect marriage for 22 years. Not true at all. I've had many rocky spots in my marriage. Some of them more my fault than my wife, some more her fault than mine, some pretty much even, and everything in between, right? Just to be forward, this is an important piece for you to understand. If you are in a relationship and there are problems, you are always at least somewhat responsible. Every single time, no exception. Repeat that to make sure you get that. If there are problems in your relationship, no matter what, if it's a relationship, you are always at least partially responsible, no exception. But my husband went out and cheated on me. Still, you are partially responsible. Now, clearly, he's the more responsible because he went out and cheated on you. Clearly. But you are also, if it's a relationship, both people are always responsible no matter what. It does not matter how bad. It might be 99-1, but then 1% yours. Just accept that as, if you don't accept that as true, you cannot repair your relationship. Let me say that again. If you don't accept that you are, no matter what happens, at least partially responsible, and accept that as true, you will never fix your relationship. It can't be all his fault, all her fault. It's not true and won't work. Well, Larry, how can it be my fault that he cheated? I think you know that already. How can it be my fault that she doesn't love me anymore? I think you know that already. How can it be my fault she ignores me? I think you know that already. It can be. And no matter what, it's always partially your responsibility. Now, if you accept that as true, you can begin to replace things. You can begin to repair things because the idea is the same. Truth doesn't work. More truth doesn't work. More truth. The sad part is, and this is something that most people will not tell you, sometimes your relationship cannot be fixed. That sucks, but that's true. The problem is, it's not only about you. No matter how good you might be or might not be, whatever the case may be, no matter what it is, no matter what, if the other person isn't involved, doesn't matter. Both have to be prepared to salvage the relationship, or the relationship is unsalvageable. When I have chatted with couples, here's how you'll know for sure. It's a clear sign whether you have a good or a bad marriage counselor. Clear sign. Most marriage counselors are terrible. To be fair, most are. But here's a clearer sign. There are many signs. Here's one of them. If when you talk to your marriage counselor, the first thing you start doing is trying to compromise. The first thing is compromise. Not that compromise by default is bad, but if the first thing you start is compromise, you have a bad counselor. What does that mean? So, Jim and Jane go to counseling, and the counselor is saying, "So, Jim, what do you expect out of a relationship?" "I expect boom, boom, boom." "Jane, what do you expect?" I said, "Boom, boom, boom." "Okay, Jane, how can we give Jim more of what he wants?" "Okay, Jane, how can we give Jim what he wants?" Jim, how can we more Jim what she wants?" You're going to fail. You're going to fail. Absolutely going to fail. Larry, that makes a lot of sense. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. She is asking both of them to give into the other when they're both pissed off at each other and angry and have baggage all over the place. If you didn't have baggage and were pissed off every place, you're not sitting in front of a counselor. Right? You wouldn't be in front of the counselor. You're in front of a counselor because you've got baggage and you have issues and you're mad at each other. Or you're not in front of the damn counselor. What's the first thing you got to do? Find common ground. And the first thing your counselor should be saying is very simple. "Jim, I have to ask you a question. Do you want to be in this marriage?" I'm not joking. That's the first question. "Do you want to be in this marriage?" "No, I don't want to be in this marriage." "Why are you here?" "Well, so why are you here?" So we're done?" Literally. "Are we done?" "Well, no, I do want to." "You do? Okay, great. So you do want to be in this marriage." And often they'll go, "Well, if she does blah, blah, blah." "Oh, so it's conditions. You don't really want to be in the marriage." "Well, no." "Okay, I'm not asking about the ifs, ands, or buts. I'm asking you, do you want to be in the marriage? Without any ifs, ands, or buts. Do you want to or not?" If he cannot answer that question, I'll go to the other one. "Oh, okay, fine. Jane, do you want to be in this marriage?" "Well, I would, but if neither of them can simply answer yes or no after prodding back and forth, that marriage is over. You shouldn't be talking to a therapist. You should be talking to lawyers. Marriage is over. I'm not joking on that. Marriage is over. For you to want to have a marriage, to have marriage work, you have to both want to be in it. If only one of you wants to be in it, it's already over. You're just wasting time. You're just wasting your time. And that sounds horrible. But Larry, we have to stay together for the kids. Terrible idea. I'll say it again. Terrible idea. Well, if we just wait till the kids, terrible idea. You are showing the kids a bad relationship and hoping they somehow have a better one. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Get divorced and have a positive relationship someplace and show them that. Kids don't do what we say. They do what we do. So if we have a terrible relationship, they will have terrible relationships too, because they will do what we do, not what we say. You can't go, "I'm going to stay with this person who I hate and never talk to them ever and disrespect them constantly and talk bad about them behind your back." But you don't do that. You go have a good relationship. We do that all the time. You see it in your friends and family, maybe even yourself, all the time. Yes. So don't do that. Or you're asking for trouble. Number one piece, do you want to be in a relationship or not? And if you can't get someone to answer that question, why are you there? I'll tell you why you're there. You're going to a therapist so the therapist can fix the other person. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm going to sit in the therapist's office so he can fix my wife who's broken. How's that going to possibly work if I actually think that? And sadly, we often do. I'm going to go to a therapist's office so he can fix my husband. What? No, no, no. You have to fix a relationship. So the first question is, do you want to be in a relationship? And I would ask yourself that too. If you're with somebody, do you want to be in a relationship? But Larry, I love him. Okay, that's great. I didn't ask that question though. What I'm asking you is, do you want to be in a relationship? But I love him. I got that. Do you want to be in a relationship or not? I'm not saying you don't love the person. You might. Do you want to be in a relationship? You have to ask yourself that question. And if you in your own head go, you know what? No, I don't want to be in a relationship. I love the person, but it doesn't work. Well, then why are you trying to reconcile? It's a serious question. Why are you trying to reconcile? It's an important thing to think about. You don't want to be in a spot to where you feel like this is the only person you have, and because you love them, you must be with them. Maybe you shouldn't be. Maybe you don't work together. I don't know that, but maybe you don't. Second question, does that person want to be in a relationship? If they don't, why are you bothering? Maybe work on that aspect first. Give the person a reason to be in a relationship. And it may be both generic and not. Whenever talking about human beings, remember, you're always in a bell curve, right? Most humans will foot into this middle area, but there will always be outliers. So whatever I'm going to say now, I want you to realize it may or may not work perfectly with you, but will probably work at least a little bit with you, if not mostly with you in your relationship. So there will be exceptions. You are an individual person. There will be exceptions, but it's good general rules. People want to be loved and respected, right? Loved and respected. They want to feel love and feel respected. If someone's in a relationship and doesn't want to be in a relationship, you should be asking yourself, are you doing the best that you can to make that person feel loved and to make that person feel respected? If you're not, why not? It is a simple question, but not an easy question. So if you think this person does not want to be in a relationship with you, ask yourself this question. Are you doing the best you can to make the person feel loved and to make the person feel respected? If you can answer yes, and that person's not going to be in a relationship, they're not right for you. Done. That's just it literally, while that's a difficult question to answer, it is simple. If you're saying, Larry, I'm doing everything I can to make the person feel loved, doing everything that I can and the person feel respected, they don't want to be with me. Done. It's not going to work. You are wasting your time. Move on. I'm very serious. You say, you know what, Larry, I'm not. I don't do a good job making the person feel respected at all. Well, then why would they want to be in a relationship with you? Larry, you're right. I do not do a good job of making them feel loved. Then why would they want to be in a relationship with you? Again, not an easy question to answer, but simple. Start thinking of it that simply. If the person does not want to be in a relationship with me, am I doing the best that I can to make them feel loved and respected? And if it's asking too much, meaning they're too much for you, you cannot go to that level, then you shouldn't be with them. No worries. It's not how it is. If you're going, no, you know what, I'm not. I'm dropping the ball on this. I am not making them feel loved. I'm not making them feel respected. I could do more, and I'm not doing it. Well, step up. I'm not ready to step up. Then either you're not ready to be in a relationship with that person, or you're not ready to be in a relationship. Either one of those things could be true. You might not be in a place that you can do that. So maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship right now. Maybe you need to get yourself in a better space to where you can do that. The reverse. Why are you unhappy with this person? Why do you think about breaking up the relationship? Why are you unhappy? Ask yourself the question. Is that person doing enough to make me feel loved? Is that person doing enough to make me feel respected? If you go, they're doing a lot, and I'm still not happy, you shouldn't be in the relationship with them, because either they can't do what's appropriate for you, or you're not ready to be in a relationship. Either one's true. You may require too much, right? Remember, you also have to have self-love and self-respect for you to be worthy of love and respect, right? We get that part, right? So if that person has to jump through hoops that are unrealistic to make you feel loved or to make you feel respected, maybe you have to work on yourself first. Maybe you're not ready for a relationship. Or the reverse. Are they doing it and it's not enough? Maybe you're not ready, or are they not doing enough? And if they're not, why not? Can you ask them? Can you tell them? And I go right back to truth and more truth. If I'm with somebody and I don't feel loved, I should tell them. And boy, does that hurt. It hurts everybody. It hurts me saying it. And I don't want to say it. I get angry. I get mad. Why don't you love me? Now I'm mad. But of course I love you. It's not what I'm asking. Note what I said. There's a difference. I'm not saying the person doesn't love you. The question I asked was, are they doing enough to make you feel loved? I didn't ask whether they love you or not. I can't be clearer on this. The question is, you have to feel loved. That person may love you deeply. They might. But think, oh, she knows, so I don't have to say it every time. No, you might need to say it every time because maybe she needs to feel loved. Whether you love her or not doesn't matter. Well, I respect him. Of course I respect him. Great. Do you show that you respect him? Does he feel respected? That's what I'm asking. Of course I respect him. Of course I respect my wife. Of course I do. Well, that's a stupid question to ask. Is it? Does she feel respected? Well, it doesn't matter because I respect her. It does matter tremendously. The basis for people wanting to be in a relationship is those two things. Then there's a bunch of ancillary, secondary places you have to work on to repair those. But those are the two basic pieces. Does each partner make the other one feel loved and respected? Generally speaking, women are more concerned about loved than respected. That's not a 100% rule, but it's a general rule. There have been lots of studies on this. Generally speaking, women tend to care more about being loved and respected. They care about both, but tend to put more emphasis on feeling loved. And men tend to care more about being respected than loved. They care about both, but it push more on the respect side. Tend to. So look at your relationship. Does your relationship follow either of those? Does your partner push more on love? Does your partner push more on respect? And the problem is reverse may be true, right? You might care tremendously about respect, and love may be much lower on your personal requirements. Why? You may feel a lot of self-love. You may feel loved from others. You may not require so much feeling of love from your spouse or your partner. Maybe not. Depends on who you are and where you're going. You may not. You might care more about respect. Or the reverse. You might feel respected by everybody around you. You need more love from your partner. Could be that too. Or maybe personally, you require more respect or you require more love. All of those things are possible. My point is, look at it from those 2 points and look at yourself. And say to yourself, what's going on here? How am I feeling? Right? When someone needs love and doesn't get it, they can become very clingy, very needy, right? You need it. You don't get it. Very clingy, very needy. I'm not feeling loved. Very clingy, very needy. It's very common. Many people do this. If it's you, don't be surprised. Many people do it. Now, if in respect, you become very bitter, very angry, right? The root of anger is a feeling of a lack of respect or perception of a lack of control. So when I feel like I get angry, so if you find yourself being angry, it could be because you feel disrespected. If you feel clingy, it could be because you're not feeling loved. What is your partner doing? They're angry at you? Are they clingy? Now, the other part with love is they can be the opposite, meaning instead of being clingy, they become distant. Well, if you don't love me, I don't love you. If you won't show me, distancing yourself is often a self-defense mechanism. Right? I can't go to you because I won't feel loved. I don't want to be hurt because I don't feel loved. So I'm going to distance myself from you and I'm going to isolate myself from you. Often that's a love issue. I got to say it again. Do you feel loved? Do you feel respected? If you can deal with that issue, then there will be other things around. And I brought this up in my own world, right? And I'll give you a personal example and these are little things that you will have. When I was a kid, my mom would often put food in front of my plate, in front of me. It made me feel loved. My mom was feeding me. So for me to feel loved, one minor thing that happens, I like when someone puts my wife puts food in front of me. I like that. It makes me feel loved. Now, that may be nothing to you. That may not be how you were raised. It may not mean nothing to you. To me, it does. That's why I said the other ancillary things will come from that. If you focus on the love and respected piece, now you can do other things that each individual will need to feel loved, right? Are you someone who needs to be physically hugged to feel love? Some people can't stand hugs. You need people to say, I love you. Does that make you feel loved, right? And each person has their own things. People put food in front of you, right? Whatever. Open the door for you, right? Does that make you feel respected, right? Is that who you are? I don't know those things, right? But hopefully you and your significant other can work through those things that are symbols of love and symbols of respect. That's what will get your relationship back on track. Generally speaking, if relationships been failing for a long time, there's been a lot of feeling of loss of respect and or loss of love. A lot of that. You have to begin to rebuild that. First, by acknowledging it. First piece, by acknowledging it. Once you acknowledge it, now you start having conversations about what are the things that have to be done that will symbolically show the actual feelings of love and respect. And for each of us, it's a different thing or different things. And now you gotta think about it. Am I prepared to do this? Am I ready to do this? Maybe you're not. And if you're not, maybe you should end your relationship. If you go, no, I'm ready. I will do the things. Yes, right? My partner thinks it's great when I, when I make coffee in the morning for both of us. They see that as a sign of respect or a sign of love. I'll do it. Fine. That makes my partner feel happy. I'm doing it. Done. I will do that. Right? You're okay with it. But what if you have issues? It can be a problem, right? And so I bring this up because often people say, well, he does, well, she does. And what I'm saying is, I don't care. I have to get down to the love and respect bits first. Because if I feel like I just want you to put food in front of me, you could take that as, what am I, your slave? You could take it that way. Well, now everybody's fighting. But if you get down to the point is, it's a need that I have. I'm actually showing vulnerability when I say that I don't feel loved. I need symbols that show to make me feel loved. I need symbols to show that I feel respected. I require that. I'm actually being vulnerable to my spouse. And she's be vulnerable to me. Yeah, I need these things so that I feel loved and I feel respected. It's actually vulnerability. And then I have to feel that. The closest relationships are built not on strength, but on vulnerability. Everybody can be your friend when you're strong. It's not impressive. Can they be with you when you're vulnerable? Can they accept your flaws? And the desire for me to have respect or love can be seen as a flaw. Aren't you perfectly self-sufficient? Of course not. I'm a human being. I can't be. Neither can you either. You might think you're tough. You're not that tough. None of us are. We all need to feel this stuff. If not, we lash out. I don't want you to lash out. Be vulnerable. Show your lover, whoever that person is, here's what you need to be loved and respected. And maybe you can talk back and forth and find, other bits that might work. Right? So you know what? I feel uncomfortable making coffee for you in the morning. I don't like that. Okay, great. What else can I do then that will still give you the same symbology, the symbolism that you need, symbols that you need to show that I respect you? What else can I do that I feel comfortable doing? Oh, I feel comfortable doing it. Great. Let's do that then. Great. We found another way of me doing the thing or things that will make you feel good. Right? Sometimes you won't think it's good, but it will work. I'll give you an example. In my own life, and I don't mind sharing this. Being an entrepreneur, it is very common that someone can work forever, 24/7. If any of you entrepreneurs know my entrepreneurs, you know that can happen. You can work 24/7, never stop working. So I just work a lot. My wife was often feeling that I was making her a second or third choice in her life. She didn't like it. She didn't feel respected or loved. Makes sense, right? But when I'm in my own head working, I don't think about that. I think I'm working. It's all that matters, right? Because I'm being righteous and I'm making money, so it's important for the family. And I've made up an excuse to be a poor husband. I validated my bad behavior, which I did. I am guilty of doing that. To be very clear, I'm guilty of validating bad behavior and being a bad husband and validating it through work or something. I've done that. And if you're an entrepreneur, you've probably done the same thing. I've done it. When she expressed that, I had to find an answer. And the answer couldn't be, I'm willing to just stop what I'm doing to talk to her all the time. It physically couldn't work being an entrepreneur that I was that was physical impossible and would break my concentration. I couldn't do it. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you total access to my calendar. You can put whatever you want on my calendar, whenever you think appropriate, and I will treat you like you're my number one customer. That's what I would do. You're my number one customer. So I will block anything off for you. Whatever you want, you put it in there. It's done. I will not let it be moved. I will make my other customers wait because you're my number one customer. At first, she hated it. Hated it. Oh, I got it out. Get in your calendar and schedule stuff, man. She hated it. No, no. If you do it, it'll be work. It's how my brain works. I'm an entrepreneur. It's how my brain works. It will show you have the ultimate respect because you can block anything off, and I will never say no to me if you put. And it actually works now. Like that was a thing that we had to get over, but it was an answer that I could do to show her how vibe. So she puts it. My calendar is color coded. For those of you who've seen my calendar, it's color coded. She puts the color. This is her. It's that color. I'm not telling you what color it is. I put the color in, and she puts it in, and then everyone else has to wait. Too bad. No more customer. Now she feels respected and loved. Now, that may not work for you. I don't know what will work for you. But my point is, me just saying do the calendar thing is not going to work if I don't first base it on the idea of how can I do something that will make my spouse, my significant other, feel loved and or respected, depending upon what's more important for him or her at that time in their life. That's the basis for keeping this together. I hope that part was clear in that concept. It's not just do you love me or not. It's not just do you respect me or not. It's not just do the thing I want you to do. Or come with me to my mom's house. That's not what it's about. At its core, love and or respect. Usually for women, more love than respect. Usually for men, more respect than love. That's not 100% rule. And also what's going on in someone's life, what they're getting outside of the relationship will also deal with that issue. But figuring that out and then doing the things that matter to make that happen. That will give you a better chance. Have that conversation over the holiday season. I'm not joking. Do make some changes over the holiday season. Say that. Say, hey, significant other, holiday season make me think about our relationship. It could be better. It could be better. Let me do some things that I think will show you how much I love you and or, depending upon who you're talking to, your spouse, and or how much I respect you. Can you imagine traditional lonely entrepreneur? Entrepreneurs are very lonely. Getting told no all day long, feeling disrespected, and then that spouse says, "Look, you know what? You don't always get respect. I'm going to show you how much I respect you. I'm going to do a couple of things and I'll show you how much I respect you. You are? Yeah, yeah. I'm going to do some things for you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this and that. Now, let's say it's the wrong thing. It doesn't work. I don't like it or it doesn't work. We're talking about it though. Hey, sweetheart, please don't do this. How about this? That would be better. Can you do that? Yeah, I could. Sure, 100% I could do that. Yeah, absolutely. And now we're rocking and rolling. This is the best part. Let's say none of it works. The fact that I care enough to try in itself works. The fact that I care enough to try in itself works, even if none of the things actually worked. The fact that my spouse knows that I give a damn, that I want to make things better, still works. Still works. And now if my spouse hasn't been good to me and I'm not good to them, they should start wanting to be good back to me, right? They should. If not, we got a bigger problem. But they should be like, okay, you know what? You're doing this. I'm going to do something too. I'm going to do something too. Someone's got to start. Someone's got to be the better person. Let that person be you. The trigger be the holiday season. Let me grab a couple more comments if I can. So, all righty. Let's see here. All righty. D says, I gave my mail lady a Christmas gift of Peterbrook chocolate. Oh, some money, and I snuck the smallest political quiz in the bag with some literature about our candidates here in Jackson. Thank you, D. That's awesome. I love that. It's good. Win-win. Nothing but a win. That was great. Yes. Lachi says, true. Sometimes it's not you. Putting myself out there. My ex couldn't handle having her significant other be a bisexual man. That's gender issues. I think deserve better at the same time. No, I think, this is another good point, right? Is your ex concerned about themselves or you or both? And do you care either way? Is there a chance for you to get back with your ex? Do you want that? And again, no judgment what you want or don't want. I mean, maybe you should get back with your ex. Maybe you shouldn't. That's on you and on your ex, obviously. But that too. So you got to think about that issue, right? What's going to make the most sense for you two? So I'm glad you brought that up. You do want to put yourself out there for sure. Let me cover that piece. You met that up real fast. Again, when it comes to finding a new relationship, say you're done with one and you want a new one. My opinion always is don't focus on talking about a relationship. Focus on something the example I'll give you. There are many people who find their significant other through Liberty Movement or through my campaign. It's happened more than once. Why? No one's talking about relationships. They're talking about the campaign or some idea we came up with or something we did or something. They're part of the group and they're talking about other things. How do we push the movement forward, or how do we get a candidate elected, or whatever's the thing? That becomes the niche thing we're talking about. And from that, they grow a friendship and then romance. So I guess my response to you would be, find that niche that you think is the best bet, whatever that is for you. Have that conversation within that niche. It could be anything, right? Logically, I know you're into health. Maybe it's health, right? Maybe it's health. Maybe it's that. Whatever. Find your niche. Talk about that niche. Meet people there. Find a place where they meet there, and start talking about things. And the reality of it is, people like different genders and different sexual orientations, and you'll find people who like whatever sexual orientations is appropriate. It will happen, right? You'll find people who don't. And great, they'll be your friends, and those who won't will be romantic with you, right? Or assuming, of course, you'll be romantic with them, obviously, right? So yes, so I think the more friends and community and relationships you have in general, the better chance of you finding romance, right? And I would think that someone doesn't want someone to just think of them as their gender or sexual orientation. You want them to think of them as a good person first before anything else, or someone I want to be with in general as a friend or in my world first. So I think that might be a good idea. That'll be my 2 cents. So yes. All right. Logic goes on to say, or rather we'll say, she deserves to be happy, and I deserve someone that would enjoy my brand of weird as much as I enjoy theirs. Exactly my point. Yes. I'm sorry. I should have just clicked next. I would have got, that's what I was saying, right? You want to find someone who enjoys what you enjoy, whatever that is. Grace is going to say, marriage can be a struggle even when you love and respect each other. Yes. Yes, Grace. To be forward, yes. Marriage can be more demanding than you realize when you were younger. And let me explain why. You are correct. Younger people, generally speaking, again, this is not a 100% rule. With people, it's never 100%. Younger people are, generally speaking, less sure of themselves. So they require more love and more respect and more symbols of love and respect than older people who tend to be more confident with themselves, who kind of already have some good self-love, other friends who give them love, other people give them respect, right? Some more self-respect. So they tend to not need as much. That's, again, not 100% rule. That's a tendency. So here's the problem. So I still need my symbols of love and symbols of respect. I still need them from my spouse. But now I got financial problems. Well, now I got health problems. Now I got kid problems. Well, they have to focus their energy on all the other things. What about me? Exactly to your point, Grace. Now marriage is a struggle because now I got financial problems. I got to work 2 jobs, or I got a kid who's sick, or whatever I got. And I still got to do the symbols that keep my husband happy. You know, he should get over it. We got kids now, and relationship is over. Well, my wife needs, I can't do it. I got to go make money. We got financial problems. She deal with it. She just needs to deal with it. No, she doesn't, and she won't. Relationship is over. Anytime you hear yourself say, well, she just needs to, she just has to. No, she doesn't. No, he doesn't. Nobody needs to or has to do anything. Please don't fool yourself. Please don't fool. Well, she's got to understand. No, she doesn't. Well, he better understand. No, he better not. That does not exist. That's a fantasy you've made up in your own head. No one has to do anything except die. That's it. The only thing you have to do in life is die. Every single other thing you do is optional. Let me say it again so you're clear on that. The only thing you must do is die. Every single thing else you ever do in your life is optional. Your choice. Everything. Everything. So no one has to hear you. No one has to understand you. No one has to get it. They don't have to. In fact, often they won't. Your relationship is over. Your point, Grace, is right on the money. It is very hard because now stuff comes into your world and I still need my love, still my respect. If I don't get it, I go someplace else. I go someplace else. That's what I do. And whether that place is a substance like alcohol, opioids, that's one place. Whether it's an affair, I go hang out with another guy or gal. They give me love. They give me respect. Whether it's buying somebody else, I go to a sex worker. I go someplace else. I get what I need someplace else. You are absolutely correct. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. Nate says, everyone wants respect and love. You respect and love a person by treating the person the way they want to be respected. Nate, thank you. You are so right. Yes. You don't want to go, well, I say I love you. That person, that may not mean much to that person. You don't know that person's baggage, their background. What if people who told who told her that they loved her were mean and nasty to her? That may not be enough. You have to do something else to show you love that person. It may not be saying I love you. That might be right for you because maybe you didn't grow up that way, but maybe they grew up a different way. Totally right. You want to give the person the symbols and the actions that make them feel like they are loved or respected. Not that you think is enough to do so. Exactly right. So you want them to respect and love you in the way that you want to be respected and loved. Yep. That is what it actually means to truly treat others the way they want to be treated. Yes. I will go. People talk about the golden rule. Do unto others as you have done upon yourself. You have them do upon you. No. I want the platinum rule. Do unto others how they want to be done upon. That's the platinum rule and a more powerful rule. Treat people the way they want to be treated, not how you would treat them. They're not you. Absolutely. So, Ben goes, conversely, sometimes in a relationship, the relationship can be upgraded or even reinvented. Yes and yes. And I think this is the time to do so. You're totally correct. Ben's completely correct. And that's my point, right? You're walking now into a relationship that isn't working very well right now for the sake of argument. Now is your time to do exactly what Ben's saying and upgrade and or reinvent. I'm going to give you this marriage piece. This is a story that you will find. Most marriages, this is a true story. Most marriages have infidelity. Most do. But not all marriages end in divorce. About half do. So there are marriages that have infidelity and don't end in divorce. Happens. I'm not saying infidelity is a good idea. Please, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is to Ben's point. Sometimes infidelity can actually strengthen a relationship. Why? If you treat infidelity as what it actually is, a symptom. Why did someone step out? Only one reason, unless they're just a bad person. That's exceptional, in which case, glad it ends. Assuming the person isn't a bad person, isn't a sociopath, assuming you have a person who's a regular person who's not that way, they stepped out because they weren't feeling loved or they weren't feeling respected, one or the other. Guaranteed. Or both. Guaranteed. That's how they stepped out of the marriage. It's a symptom. If you treat it as, he cheated on me, he's a bad guy, to hell with him, divorce. It's over. Done. If you treat it as, you know what? No matter what, when there are bad things in a relationship, a part of it's my responsibility. Clearly, mostly he stepped out. Hands down, he made the step out of the marriage. He should have just got divorced or been honest with you. So clearly it's far more his fault. But also your responsibility too, even though you were cheated on. If you see it that way and go, you know what? How can we fix it? And if you do it, you can actually upgrade or reinvent this marriage. And there are many people out there who could find that after infidelity, male or female, by the way, doesn't matter which side, doesn't matter, male or female, relationship got stronger. Why? Because that's when they actually confronted the issues. When in this case, the man stepped out and the woman finds out, she goes, why? I thought we were doing so good. And they actually had that truth, more truth moment, which they should have had before he stepped out, but they didn't. This made that moment hit. It upgraded and reinvented the relationship. And I've actually seen people say, I wish he had cheated earlier. Why? Because the cheat was the trigger, to Ben's point, when the relationship got better, because that's when more truth hit. And that's when it got better. And she said, why did we wait 5 years? You should have cheated on me 5 years ago. We could have fixed our marriage then. And now it's a great marriage. It can happen. In my own world, my father, and I've said this before, my father was a terrible philanderer. Cheated my mom all the time. It's terrible. I met his girlfriend. That's how bad it was. Until at one point, I was probably 9 or 10 in that area. My mom caught him. And she was very forward. She was just like, that's it. I'm out. We're leaving. My father, I tell the story often. It's a tough thing to say, but I don't mind saying it. My father was a first a cop, and then he was a crisis officer, and he carried a gun on him all the time. And when my mom said, "I'm leaving if you don't change," he said, "I'll kill you." He wasn't joking. He was going to kill my mother. He wasn't joking. He said, "I'll kill you." She said, "You'll never find me, never find Larry. I'll be gone. You'll never find us." And he was like, uh, uh. My father changed almost overnight. And I mean almost overnight. My father came home from his shift right away, and he started giving his paycheck to my mother physically. Here's my check. Here's my check. Here's my check. He gave all the money to my mom. My mom put him on an allowance. It's a true story. He's giving his paycheck to my mom I think I paid every 2 weeks. Whatever it was, that week, I don't remember what it was. Anyway, he just would give the check. I remember he'd come home and give the check to my mom. Give the check to my mom. She took care of all the money, carried everything, and it changed the entire marriage. And the saddest part of the story is that I was living in the Bronx at the time, and my father would piss money away. He would spend money on terrible things. He was not very good as a husband. But my mother loved him, but she just got tired of him. She's like, "I'm out." She saw him, caught him cheating again, and was like, "You're out. I'm done." He changed almost overnight. And I mean, he was an amazing husband after that. And mom would have told you that. Like, that was when it was great. Then he got sick and died. It's just a terrible story. When my mom got the husband that she wanted, she lost him 3 years later. We had saved money, we moved to Long Island. Some of you don't know the story. We lived in the Bronx for years. My father and mother couldn't get their shit together. So we just sat in the South Bronx for years. Finally, they did. My father got his act together, gave money to my mom. My mom was saving. We got money. We bought a house on Long Island. I got to move to Long Island when I was a kid. It was awesome. It was great. To me, it was an amazing move from South Bronx to Long Island. And then he died. So when my mother finally got the man that she wanted, the husband that she wanted, that's when fate took him, and it destroyed my mom. One of the reasons why she went where she went. She felt like life was unfair, which it is, and that fate will screw you over when it wants to, and it will. So yes, you are correct. That infidelity that my father had actually upgraded it and reinvented the marriage, and it was actually a better marriage. And my mom and dad were very close. In fact, my mom wore black for 2 years. She mourned for 2 years as my father died. So yeah, it was bad. My mom was only 35 when my father died. He was 41. My mom was 35. It was very tough. So yes. Rick says, "I was going to watch part of this, yet here I am. This is brilliant talk, and I'm sharing it as soon as the stream ends." Rick, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. I do appreciate that. Guys, I will ask you one more time, if you don't mind, several things. If you like what you're hearing, if you agree with Rick and you do, then click that like button. It does matter. Click it. Let people know. If you want to keep seeing this stuff, then subscribe to my YouTube my Sharpe Way YouTube page. It does matter. If you're watching this on Twitter, please retweet this so that people can see it. It's the only way I'm going to get around shadow banning so people can enjoy it. I'm shifting a lot of my content over to Sharpe Way properties anyway to get past shadow banning. So please join that if you can. And of course, I bug you all the time. Share the world's smallest political quiz. They are my sponsors. They help me tremendously. Please do it to the best of your ability. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. I hope it was helpful for some of you. I hope it'll make some of you think. I hope we'll be better and stronger together. You know I care about this stuff. It's why I do it. It's why I get preachy, because I care. I will be back on tomorrow and the rest of the week. And also next week, I'm not going anywhere. I will see you all